Let us call to order the June 5th, 2023 rescheduled regular board meeting of the Corpus Christi Independent School District Board of Trustees at 3:30 p.m. All items discussed or voted upon this afternoon have been posted as required by state law. The meeting is being live streamed and a complete recording will be archived for the public to view at their convenience. Please speak into your microphone so those watching the live stream will be able to hear what you are saying. At this time, I will call roll to establish a quorum. Mr. Villarreal?
Here.
Ms. Hawkins? Here. Mrs. Trolley?
Here.
Mr. Adedondo?
Here.
Mrs. Bell?
Here.
Mr. Bell?
Here.
And I am Don Clark. A quorum has been established and we will proceed with the agenda.
Thank you, Mr. Clark. And the board, if everybody would please stand for our invocation. Most generous Father, as we close the 22-23 school year, we are thankful for a year filled with challenges and triumphs, losses and laughter, and friendships and growth. We thank you for getting us safely to this point, and we are grateful for the many stakeholders who supported our students in their learning and our staff in their work. We ask that you be with our students throughout the summer break. Keep them safe in everything they do so they may return refreshed and ready to learn. Be with our staff during their well-deserved summer break and guard them in everything they do so that they may return refreshed and ready to support our students and each other. Bless our graduates with hope so that they move into the future with eager and open hearts. Help them to put the knowledge and skills and insights they've gained through their education for the good of all mankind. And as we begin this meeting, bless us with your guidance and wisdom to engage in meaningful discussion and courageous in the face of difficulty and wise in our decisions. In your name we pray. Amen. If you'll please remain standing for the pledges. I pledge allegiance to the flag and the States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. James. We have no closed session today, so we will move directly to our administrative reports, and I will invite Dr. Cynthia Hernandez for our Board Goal 1 progress measures.
Hello. Today I'm going to present the end of the year district data from the M-Class reading and also the M-Class math assessment. And this data is reported to the Texas Education Agency for both kindergarten, first and second grade, and it also aligns with board goals 1.1 and 1.3. Monitoring and reporting kindergarten, first, and second grade reading and math assessment data using the TEA-approved assessment is a requirement of House Bill 3 to help districts identify and provide interventions for students who are below level and at risk of academic achievement. And M-Class reading and M-Class math are given both in English and in Spanish, and they're administered one-on-one by a teacher, and students have a paper assessment document right in front of them when they're being assessed, and as students respond to questions, the teacher enters that information into an online platform. And each teacher was given 4 weeks to assess the students, and the district paid for a one-day substitute for them to be able to assess the students without any distractions. M-Class reading is a nationally recognized diagnostic assessment, and it measures the development of foundation reading skills to help teachers determine how students are performing. And this chart shows the skills that are assessed on DIBELS 8 and the grade levels in which the students are assessed. And House Bill 3 also requires districts to administer the dyslexia screener to identify students who'd benefit from further dyslexia testing. And M-Class math measures the early math literacy to identify foundational deficiencies And it also calculates each student's risk evaluation. And after the assessment, the data is entered online, just like the M-Class reading, and an overall instructional support recommendation is reported for each student. Each component of DIBELS 8, Edition and Lectura, and M-Class Math is about 1 minute in length. So all of these different assessments are about 1 minute in length. And they also fulfill the House Bill 3's language and literacy and math proficiency requirements. The dyslexia screener has a risk indicator code, and it identifies at-risk students, and that also meets the state's House Bill 3 K-2 dyslexia requirements. This information is used by our CCISD dyslexia department to identify students who show characteristics of dyslexia and are given additional dyslexia testing when they have an at-risk indicator. This information is also submitted to TEA in our PEIMS reporting. And the data provides personalized instructional parent letters and pathways for both recommendations for acceleration, enrichment, and those letters are generated from the website, and they inform students and parents of the academic progress, and they provide instructional suggestions to the parents to incorporate at home. And the letters are sent home after the beginning, middle, and the end of the year assessments. And all of this is part of the Lone Star governance, and which is this continuous improvement model for school boards in collaboration with their superintendents to develop a system and a framework with a primary purpose of improving student outcomes. And our Lone Star Governance Goal 1 states that the percent of all third grade students who score at the meets or above grade level performance on STAR reading and math is going to increase by at least 55% in 2025. And this is another board goal that meets the House Bill 3 requirement. Goal 1, Progress Measure 1, tracks kindergarten through second grade reading proficiency. And in 2020-2021, the Texas Education Agency required all districts to use M-Class reading. And this gave us a baseline data for setting our Lone Star governance goals. And with the goal of 55% in the 21-22 school year, the EOY assessment showed that 57% of our kindergarten through second grade students scored at the proficient level in reading, and that exceeded our goal by 2 percentage points. And this year, our goal was for 60% of kindergarten through second grade students to meet the proficiency level. And we exceeded that board goal by 3%. We scored at a 63% of all students scored at the proficiency level. So we met goal 1.1 this year, and our students and our teachers and our campus administrators and the district elementary specialists deserve all the credit and praise for meeting this goal. This slide shows the combined kinder, first, and second grade end of the year composite scores for the 2021, 2022, and 2023 end of the year. The blue bar represents students who scored above, and the green bar represents students who scored on level, and the yellow bar represents students who are below level, and then the red bar represents students who scored well below level. With an end of the year goal of 60%, our end of the year M-Class reading data shows that 63% of our kinder through second grade students are proficient readers. And when you compare our students this year in relation to last year, we're 6% higher, and in comparison to now to 2021, we're 13 percentage points higher. So every year our students are making progress, and we're on track to meet our 5-year goal of 75% of students reading proficiently. To continue working on closing the gaps, all of our kindergarten through 5th grade students who scored well below on the end of the year M-Class reading assessment are invited to attend summer school this year. And that's going to start next week. This slide captures the kindergarten through second grade end of the year combined composite or the mean score over the last 3 years. And on average, our students are scoring 6 percentage points higher this year compared to last year. And in looking at the 2020-2021 end of the year data, this year's scores are 12 percentage points higher, and our teachers and our campus and district administrators and students and our families are all collaboratively working together to increase academic achievement. The DIBELS 8 benchmark goals are nationally normed numerical targets, and they represent reading proficiency for a particular grade and a time of the year. For example, the B and the M and the E are beginning of the year, middle of the year, and end of the year. And our kindergarten cut scores for the end of the year are a 420. And students in first grade have a 441, and second grade students have a 439. So we're going to come back to these scores so you can see where our kids are scoring. So with a 420, that's what we're looking for in kindergarten. So this is what we see when we look at just the kindergarten over time. And the number and percentage of students scoring well below has dropped by 18%. And over the last 2 years, the number and the percent of students scoring out or above has increased 20% over the same time period. And that's really demonstrating a lot of student achievement there. So with a goal of 60%, kindergarten kids really did a great job at 68% at the end of the year. They came, coming in, you had 850 who were, well below at the beginning, at the end of the year in 2021, and now to see how those students are, the kindergartners are really doing a great job. Okay, the kindergarten nationally normed end of the year benchmark goals set by DIBELS 8, that's represented by the top bar right there, 420. And this data tells us that our kindergarten students' average score at the end of the year, they're above the end of the year benchmark goal at a 439. So kindergarten students entered school in August, 19 points lower than the nationally recommended DIBELS 8 cut score. So this improvement speaks to the quality of instruction and the hard work our campuses are doing. In relation to the beginning of the year data and previous year's data, we see that our kindergarten CCISD students are making more than 1 year's worth of growth to prepare for first grade. And with increased pre-kindergarten enrollment and the priority of improving the quality of pre-kindergarten programs, these scores are just going to continue to improve. And it's going to set our kids on the trajectory for reading on grade level and scoring at the meets grade level or above on the third grade star. So this is first grade. And when you compare first grade end of the year data over time, the number and the percentage of students scoring well below has dropped by 16% over the last 2 years, and the number and percent of students scoring out or above has increased by 11%. So this is a first grade benchmark at 462. Or at 441, 441. And so our kids this year scored an average of a 462. And that is really amazing. That's 21 points above the benchmark level. And our teachers are working so hard to close achievement gaps that a lot of kids enter school with, and the data shows the effectiveness of our CCISD curriculum. And here's second grade. 62% of our second grade students scored out or above on the end of the year, and we've reduced the number and percent of students who scored well below by 161 students compared to last year. So our goal was to get a 439 average, and our second grade students' average score was a 447. So our kids are really, they've exceeded that recommended cut score by DIBELS. Now let's look at the second grade students right now in the 2023 school year and where they were when they were in first grade and then where they were in kindergarten. So this is a cohort of students. It's the same student groups and it shows the progress that this cohort of students has made since they were in kindergarten. And less than half of the kids scored at or above level on the end of the year when they were in kindergarten. And then in first grade, 59% of students scored at or above level. And now that these kids are in second grade, 62% of the same students scored at or above level. And with more than half of the students scoring well below level in kindergarten, now that they're in second grade, the number of students scoring well below level decreased by 226 students. And simultaneously, 355 more of these same students are scoring at or above level. So this tells us that while many of our students enter school below level, our teachers, administrators, our CNI specialists are all doing an excellent job of ensuring that the curriculum is written, taught, and assessed in ways that improve student performance over time. And an analysis of the first grade cohort shows that 196 more students are at or above this year compared to when they were in kindergarten last year, and there's 55 fewer students scoring well below. So the number and percent of students scoring on level has increased, and the number and percent of students not on level is decreasing. In-class reading data also correlates with both an intervention and then an acceleration pathway, and it's individualized to meet the instructional needs of each student based on their individual in-class scores. The teachers are given prescriptive lessons and activities, and they're delivered in small group settings during the reading and language arts time, and feedback from teachers indicates that the effectiveness of these lessons is in closing the achievement gaps. And one of our top priorities next year will be to partner with the MTSS, that's the old RTI, and we're going to really work closely with them to ensure that students are receiving the correct interventions that are prescribed just for these students so that they can become proficient readers. So in reading, the 3 highest leverage district strategies that we're going to employ to meet goal 1.1, those were the continuous implementation of a high-quality reading and language arts curriculum, and it includes explicit and systematic phonics instruction. And we also give students time and the curriculum for the small group accelerated learning. We also are continuing the House Bill 3 required Texas Reading Academies, and then our pre-kindergarten initiative for increasing the enrollment and the quality of the instruction. And these district initiatives were pivotal in leading us to meet Board Goal 1.1. And the strong collaboration among our teachers and administrators, the curriculum and instruction specialists, the parents and students helped us to not only meet but exceed our goal. Let's now transition to math. This is goal 1.3, and it measures kindergarten through second grade math proficiency. And the district implemented M-Class Math for the very first time this year, and our end of the year data serves as our baseline. And we're going to set our 5-year, and you can kind of see, you guys will approve that later on, but setting it with 7 percentage points increments each year so that by the year 26-27, 80% of our students are scoring on level. M-Class Math benchmark goals are nationally normed, just like the reading goals. And they represent math proficiency for each grade level at the beginning and at the middle and at the end of the year. And the score a student is required to meet to determine adequate progress. At each point of the year, it increases incrementally throughout the year. The M-Class Math determines a student's overall status based on a combination of risk levels for each assessment. And a student's score provides a risk level evaluation, and that measure differs by the different grade levels. So you've got intensive, strategic is yellow, and then benchmark is green. The M-Class Math scores are reported by the red is the intensive, yellow, strategic, and green is at benchmark or on level. The three-tiered system delineation here identifies the students most in need of instructional support and those who are on track. And since this is our first year administering M-Class, we don't have a year-over-year comparative data. However, the end of the year combined kinder, first, and second grade composite scores show both an increase in number and percentage of students scoring at the benchmark level, and also a decrease in the students scoring below level or at the intensive level. 52% of students met the benchmark. 34% of students will need strategic support next year, and 14% of students will need intensive instructional support. And these students also have been personally invited to attend summer programs to accelerate their learning and to prepare for next year. Kindergarten beginning of the year data compared to the end of the year data shows the tremendous growth. So students came in. There were 216 students at the beginning of the year coming into kindergarten on level. And a lot of kids, 753 students who needed intensive support. And then a lot of students right there in the middle at strategic support. And by the end of the year, wow, our kindergarten teachers, every single year, they are doing such an amazing job. So they really, really, really narrowed that achievement gap. And that they decreased the number of students needing intensive support by 500 students. They worked so hard. And then in first grade, the number and percent of students scoring at benchmark has more than tripled. And the percent of students scoring at intensive instructional support, it dropped by 18%. And then here's second grade. Now, you're going to see at the middle of the year, I don't know if you remember that report or not, but at the middle of the year, we noticed that our second grade students were not making adequate progress. And this led our department to analyze the data, the actual assessment, and also our second grade curriculum. And one of the key measures of M-Class Math is giving students a 2-minute time frame to answer a certain number of questions to measure a student's ability to automatically use mental math reasoning and to measure math fact fluency. So our CNI team developed a series of instructional materials designed to increase students' ability to use number sense and to develop automaticity to fluently solve computational math problems and determining if a number was like larger than or less than another number. And I want you to know that without that middle of the year assessment and looking at all of that data, we would have never known that our curriculum needed this kind of adjustment. And it really did make us aware that we needed to add those automaticity routines into our curriculum. And as a result, that curriculum change and the teachers implementing this curriculum, that really helped to reduce the number of students who were scoring at intensive. And it certainly increased the number of students who were scoring at benchmark. And in addition to those adjustments that we made to the second grade curriculum, the M-Class Math student data also correlates with both an intervention and an acceleration pathway. And it gives students this individual pathway to either have lessons that are delivered by, and they call them activities that are delivered by the teacher in small groups to identify any skills or anything that they need that's going to help them close the achievement gaps, but it also helps them to accelerate. And a layer of accountability was added to ensure that students who scored at the intensive support level, they were all given opportunities for progress monitoring every 2 weeks. And this system of progress monitoring is done on the M-Class online platform, and it was checked by the campus administration. And parents were also given reports to show their child's progress and then areas of further development that they needed. And our strategic district priorities for meeting board goal 1.3 are going to remain the same. We want to do the same things that have yielded high progress in the past. And that is working closely with school leadership, campus administration, and then the teachers to provide the best curriculum and instruction practices. So the top 3 things that we find to be the most high leverage activities are making sure kids have access to a high quality instructional curriculum, and we use Eureka Math for kinder and first grade and Sharon Wells for second grade. And the other thing is ensuring teachers have the training that they need to implement the curriculum. We have those 6 half-day professional developments, and then we also have the 2-hour online virtual PLC times. And then working to increase the number of pre-kindergarten students that we serve and helping the quality to improve also will help our kids come in to kindergarten prepared. So we feel like these are the things that are going to make the biggest difference, and it's really been the same thing, and we're not really adding anything, but just continuing to do what we've done in the past. And that concludes our presentation.
Dr. Hernandez, thank you very much. All very exciting news. Pretty impressive being able to identify the issues on the second grade math mid-year and make that correction of about 30%. So kudos to your team. Looks like Ms. Hawkins.
Thank you, Dr. Hernandez, for this final report for this year. It is impressive, and we appreciate all that you guys are doing, you and your staff and the teachers that administer these this curriculum. I did want to ask just a couple of questions. I was looking at, and these are like slide 27, 18, 23, and 25. They're all the same type of presentation. Were these cohorts, or are these? It says I'm looking at slide 25 or page 25, 2020, 2021, 21, 22, 22. Are all these are second graders each year? Is that correct?
Is this a slide? Slide 18? Which one?
Well, I'm looking at the little number slide 25, page 25 of your
25?
presentation.
Okay, let me go to that one.
I don't know what slide it is, but it's page 25 of your presentation.
Yeah,
And they all look like this with the yellow, the red, yellow, and green. And so I was just wondering, it says end of year comparison, combined composites score levels. So I'm wondering, are we following a cohort here? Because I know you stipulated on slides farther down that they were a cohort, but it didn't happen here. And so are we looking at the same group of kids?
Not on this slide. This slide right here, slide 25, this one is second graders when they were in 2021, 22, 21, 22, 22, 23. So these are just second graders. The cohorts, those began on slide
they're farther
27.
down.
Yes.
Okay.
So these are the same kiddos. So when they were in kindergarten in 2021, then first grade in 2022, and then they were in second grade in 2023. These are the same kids.
Okay. Throughout your report, these are the same kids.
Slide 27 and slide 28 are the same kids.
Right.
But every other slide is just the
A grade level.
A grade level. Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
Okay. You moved your percentages up like 7 points, I think, to
Oh,
reset
for
your,
math?
yeah, to reset your goals.
Yes.
believe that's-
In math, right here. This
Okay.
is the math. We took M-Class for the very first time this year. And so these are my recommendations to the board, but you guys are going to, of course, come back and choose. But if I had to, like, guide or suggest where we should be in 5 years based on where we are now, I want to be at least 80% of our kids by the end of 2027
Yes, and I
scoring
recognize
proficient.
that, and I'm just wondering if you set 80 for the 5 years, or if there was something else that guided it that got you to 80? Did you start at 80, and then I think the differences were like 7% percentage each year? So how did you arrive at that 7%?
So I looked at where we were at beginning of the year, middle of the year, ending of the year, and we improved 7 percentage points on average in each grade level. And I thought, if we can do that from beginning, middle, and the end, we can do that from end to end to end to end. So that was a good baseline. And I feel like, I'm really never going to be happy until 100% of our kids are on level.
Absolutely.
But 80 is going to be good for 5 years.
Okay, all right. The other question that I had, when you look at your strategies, what you want to do to help meet these goals, are the teachers' input in these strategies, or is it just your team, and then you go out and hand this to the teachers?
Oh, we don't ever hand anything to anybody. We get all kinds of feedback. So we do a ton of different things. We do lots and lots of surveys throughout the year. So we'll do a survey at the beginning of the year, at the middle of the year, and at the end of the year to get teacher feedback. We also do a ton of the professional development. And then each time after those 6 PLC days that we have, and then the half-day PDs, we get teacher feedback on what do you need, what do you want from the CNI, because our job is to serve our teachers and to serve our administrators. And so these are the things that they've said that they need. And when you look at it, you look at the pre-kindergartner, or the kindergarten kids coming in, 10% of our kindergarten kids were on level. And so we knew, what do we need to do? We need to prepare our community. We need to prepare our pre-kindergarten kids to come into school more than 10% ready for kindergarten. So absolutely, we don't ever tell anybody. We are servants. We are here to serve our teachers and serve our administrators, and they tell us the best ways that they need help, and that's what we do.
But you do give them a set curriculum.
Absolutely. Some of our campuses have over a 60% mobility rate. So if you look at and we can see a triangle from one campus to the next campus to the next campus. And so what we know is anytime a child changes schools and then they have to change a curriculum, they're going to get what research says is about 2 months below or back. They're going to digress 2 months back. And so we know that when we have a centralized curriculum, and when we know that we have that, when a child checks out on Friday at one campus and enters on Monday, they're going to pick up right there where they left off.
So do the teachers have any kind of leeway in giving the curriculum if there is a problem with a certain concept that it seems like many of them have not gotten? So is there playing room for them to get that?
Absolutely. We have an hour and 120 minutes, so 2 hours in our reading block, and then we have 90 minutes in our math block. And so with that, we have about 1 hour that is direct instruction, where they're teaching phonics, where they're teaching the concepts that they need. And then the teachers have, in that small group time, they have about an hour where they can differentiate instruction. And so we know what they need to be doing based on our M-class scores. And so they have this leeway to give kids exactly what they need and what they're missing. So yeah, there's a lot of wiggle room in between that time.
Well, we have a lot of good strategies to use to help our students, and I recognize that. Well, it's a good report. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Mr. Bell.
Yes, hey, thank you for this report. It's amazing how much data you can generate from a 6-year-old with a 1-minute test. pretty crazy. And I really appreciate this this information and the growth. There's two slides that really kind of jumped out at me. Three slides that jumped out at me. First one I want to go back to is the one that has the different things that they're supposed to be able to do at the different grade levels.
And was that
I'm not sure.
slide 12 and 13?
I don't know. My computer's going nuts right now.
That's the beginning. What do you got? Page.
This one? Here's math.
It's the one. Yes,
And this
that
is
one
reading.
right there.
Okay, gotcha.
And one the notes that I wrote down on this, and I actually wrote it down when I was looking over the stuff, is that, and I looked at, and the other one was the strategic plan that we have. They kind of both go hand in hand. Is that how much are we trying to engage mom and dads in this? And I think that if mom and dads maybe had this kind of information that we give it to them at PTAs or fundraisings or an add-on to a report card because we're doing electronic stuff like that says this is what your kiddo needs to be able to do in kindergarten, second grade, and whatnot, and maybe have a little description and even this is what it looks like. Type deal that I think that I would really like to see that as part of our plan, engaging mom and dads, because that's just a huge part of it for us to be successful. And then the other one that really I am so happy you did this is that you put together a cohort. And on the past board reports, I always thought that was very important. It showed as we look at a group of kiddos as they progress, and how are they doing collectively as a pre-K and kindergarten and first and second, third? And I thought that really was a good snapshot of the growth of our kids and what they're doing and how they're doing, especially in kindergarten. So that was a good thing. I need to engage mom and dads, and I enjoyed I like the cohort. This is an M-Class, and you said this is a state mandated test?
Yes, sir.
So every district in the state of Texas had to do it?
They're going to either do one of two.
Okay,
And so TPRI or M-Class, and then you have no other choices.
Okay, and the M-Class, I'm assuming that we report this back to the state of Texas, and they're going to generate some data that we can look as comparison, how we're doing against the state of Texas. Districts are same size and locally and whatnot. And we're going to see that, or do you have that information yet?
No, I don't. It's still
Okay.
the end of the year. I'll bring it back and I'll show you when I do the beginning of the year. All of this is mandated by House Bill 3. And so when the state compiles all of their data, and it hasn't even been turned in fact, I've been working with Ms. Monet back there to try to get it all to her today. And so our PEMS department is going to turn this in, and then we are able to get it for the entire state. But I don't think it's due until June 15th.
I just for me, because I'm kind of a numbers nut, and I just like how we've done locally, and because we're seeing some really encouraging stuff here, and I would like to see how if everybody's seeing encouraging stuff, and hopefully they are. If everybody's seeing numbers like this, that's good. And then, do we know how many have signed up for our summer programs yet?
Is Amanda Cameron here?
Like 5,000 or 6,000?
Amanda, do you know how many kids are signed up?
That's okay. It only starts next week, so that's all
Right.
right.
Yeah.
We'll get that to you.
It's just, just for curiosity, I really like to, if we're going to offer a summer program, I really want our kids to dive into it. I want mom and dads to say, hey, you can go next week, you can go to camp counting and camp ABCs or whatever you're going to do, and we can help our kids grow.
So we are at the elementary. We are inviting 2,301 students.
And that's
so,
how many that's going to show up, right?
Well, we hope so. We're going to be calling and really getting them to attend because we invited them based on several data sources, M-Class being one, as well as MAP. And then for middle school, we're at 1,068 students that are invited, and so we'll see how many attend. And then high school is approximately about 1,000 right
Good
now.
luck.
So high school starts tomorrow. Summer school.
It starts tomorrow?
High school does.
Does it?
Because it has 2 sessions, and then elementary and middle school will start June 12th.
And obviously, we're going to marriage fun with education, right? During camp ABC or whatever.
We're going to
Okay.
have some enrichment activities every day for the
Thank you
elementary.
for your time, and the teachers have done an amazing job, and they're to be applauded along with your team and whatnot. And we just got to keep pulling rope, and I'm excited about our pre-K stuff, and as it grows, it's going to be exciting. Thank you.
Mr. Arredondo.
Again, Dr. Lundes, thank you very much for the information. Obviously, success and progress is really the issue of the day, and that's great for everybody. Just as far as some data here, when we look at the slides that have, the progress end of year, those that were below, those were below level, well below, on level, etc. At the end of each column, you have a total number. At each aspect of their success, below, low, way below, or whatever, you have a number there. These are numbers of students in that grade level tested.
Over here on the
Yes.
right-hand side? Yes, but when you got this report, we were still waiting for some data to be input, and so I didn't change this. I did check this before, and we're already, like, that number's over 7,000, but, you got to do these reports, like, 3 weeks before you actually present them, so this is what we have right now. I mean, this is what you're seeing, but there are more than 7,000
There's more,
kids.
yeah,
Yeah.
and I presume that too. And then the related question to that, and let's say if it was only the slide showing kindergarten, would that number at the end mean the total number of kindergarten students we have in the district, or only those that were tested?
There's about 75 more students in kindergarten than this number represents.
So then it's the number initially on the slides are those tested.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Can you just briefly share how we're doing with our reading academies and all teachers being trained and that process, please?
Right. So, again, another House Bill 3 requirement. So, anyone who is teaching kindergarten, first and second grade, and third grade has to take the Reading Academy along with their school administrator. So, we know that next year, every teacher who is going to be teaching those grade levels is either already taken the Reading Academy or they're enrolled in the Reading Academy. And we have many, many more people who, so there's some pre-K teachers who've gone through the Reading Academy. There's some assistant principals who's gone through. So we've really opened it up to everybody to take it.
I know, because every year we have new administrators especially, and just wanted to ensure that we get the training for them. When you mentioned about you get input from teachers, how are the teachers surveyed to get input as to how we're doing, or their curriculum, or their, the progress in the activities they're doing with curriculum?
We give them surveys, and in fact, we have a group of about 50 teachers right now who have been over at CERC all day working with curriculum writing. So we do surveys at about 3 times a year. And we say, all right, so what would you change if you could change anything for science or for reading or for math? And they'll give us different things. We're at a campus at least 3 to 5 campuses a week, and so we are there, and the teachers and administrators will talk to us then. We also do surveys after all of our half-day PDs, and they give us information. And all of our half-day PDs, they are run like a choice session. And so we have different things where the teachers will go through and get an opportunity to preview, or they call it internalize, the grading period that's coming up. And so they get to give us feedback so that we understand. So the first thing that we do is we use a backward design model. So you know what that is. So we're taking the test, we're taking the assessment. And so we've got the STAR blueprint in one hand and we've got the test in the other hand. And so we're looking at, oh, well, we need to increase the rigor of this question, or maybe we are giving, we're just looking at the curriculum in terms of the TEKS and then also the STAR blueprint. And so we get the feedback from teachers at those half-day PDs, the surveys that they give us afterward. The teachers are the ones who are helping us write the curriculum. And then we also just give surveys. We know that, for example, those middle of the year data for the math, we went to a lot of teachers and we emailed a lot of teachers and we sent out a survey. What can you tell us about the M-Class math? And they said, Sharon Wells needs more automaticity. So we immediately jumped on that and started implementing those things into the curriculum.
Good. So then, in the end result is that you share those results with teachers as you do adjustments in curriculum and move forward into next year, I guess, or summer curriculum. There you go, cut it off. Thank you. And then just one more question in reference to the M-Class testing, and you mentioned MAP testing also and resultant data. When are those two tests, because I understand MAP testing occurred for the end of the year after STAR testing, is that correct?
MAP, the NWE, we give MAP math in 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade only, and for math.
Right.
And then also 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade for science.
Okay. So then it's not for the K2
Right.
impact then. All righty.
And here's why. That test is a computerized test, and we know that 5-year-olds may not understand how to manipulate, a computer as well. So we feel like the teacher-administered tests are they give us a little bit more accurate data that's more reliable.
Sure. When you talked about math, you mentioned that you did progress monitoring every 2 weeks.
For the math?
For the math? And
Yes.
is that also digitally done, computer assessed, or how is that? given from-
One-on-one by the teacher. And these are only the kids who scored at the intensive. So a child who scored at the intensive, we gave them, during that small group time, during their math block, we gave them different activities that aligned with where their M-Class math data showed that they needed improvement. And so the teacher gave that small group activities, and then we tested to see if they learned what we were supposed to learn, and that's about a 10-day cycle.
Okay, good. Well, again, congratulations on the progress, and really appreciate the information.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's the balance of the questions, Dr. Hernandez. Thank you. Administrative Report B, Mr. Knipes.
Good afternoon, President Clark, members of the board, and Dr. Hernandez. I'm here as the Director of Admissions, Attendance, and Student Support Services. I'm going to report on the Lone Star Governance Goal for Attendance 4.2. This goal states that by 2025, CCISD will meet a daily attendance goal of 94%, which was met in the 2019-2020 pre-pandemic school year. This goal identifies a baseline of 91% established in the 2020-2021 school year with an expected increase of 1% each subsequent year. I will be reviewing our current progress, including attendance data through the 5th 6 weeks and the strategies we are implementing to increase attendance. As referenced in the previous slide, the district's attendance goal is set at 94% by 2025. During the years 2020-2021, attendance was captured mostly through virtual and home-based instruction, which does not give us an accurate students' overall attendance behaviors for those years. The 21-22 school year, which was our first year fully back, had its challenges as we transitioned as a community to a post-pandemic way of life, encountered some COVID-19 surges in the fall and spring, even closing entire classrooms and grade levels at some of our schools due to the surges. Our office is working closely with campus principals, their attendance impact teams, leadership directors, and the Office of Communications and educating our students and families through social media, publications, and school messaging on the importance of attending school every day. We've redesigned the support provided to campuses by housing our recovery specialists at middle schools to support both middle and elementary schools by the vertical learning communities, or VLCs. Elevated supports and attention are provided to campuses that fall below 90% average daily attendance. We see from our 1.79 gain that our efforts are resulting in a positive trend. This table illustrates trends by campus level for each 6 weeks. The first 6 weeks was very positive with an average of 92.96%. The decrease in the second and third 6 weeks may be related to surges in COVID, the flu, and seasonal illnesses. We monitor our attendance daily to stay on top of trends. High schools continue to be our greatest challenge, and we collaborate with the high school leadership director, Dr. Bruce Wilson, to support his efforts and the principal's team in any capacity we can. As noted, with the high schools continue to be a great focus, mainly the Miller and Moody VLC, as I will note on the following slide. This slide notes the attendance averages each 6 weeks by VLC. All campuses started off the year at 91%, then we saw dips in the second and third 6 weeks. There were some COVID rises, but most of what was reported were stomach viruses and flu breaking out across campuses. The fourth and fifth 6 weeks took upward trends, with the Miller and Moody VLC struggling the most. Both of these VLCs are our most economically challenged communities that face obstacles obtaining medical health care and other services. Our campuses work closely with families to support them, and we provide focused support through our attendance officers. The leadership directors are also very highly involved with the principals and their teams as well. This slide illustrates the attendance for grade levels pre-K through 5th at our elementary schools. Elementary schools had a higher attendance average as compared to secondary, which we will review on the next slide. Pre-K and kindergarten are notably lower. They historically averaged 1 through 4% lower than the other grade levels due to transitional phase into the school environment. Note the second and third 6 weeks are the lowest. Just as noted on the previous slide, flu and stomach viruses were taking their toll on our students. We see an increase in attendance after the winter holiday. Grade levels pre-K through second grade are critical foundation years, so we're taking special approaches and working with campuses, recovery specialists, and the elementary leadership directors, Ms. Morris and Dr. Presas, to identify trends and support the strategies that will help in raising these rates. This slide reviews grade levels 6 through 12. The middle school grade levels did have a higher average than high schools, maintaining over 90% average for the first through fifth 6 weeks. High school started out above the 90% but decreased as the semesters progressed. High schools continue to be a big focus. A new strategy implemented this year was to assign a dedicated attendance officer that is housed at each comprehensive high school campus. We collaborated with the secondary leadership directors, including Dr. Pettis for middle school and Dr. Wilson for the high schools, as they oversee the campuses with the highest levels of chronic absenteeism. These next two slides will review the strategic priorities we've identified to increase our attendance. Priority 1 is our campus impact teams will utilize the multi-tiered system of supports, or MTSS, to document and track attendance contracts. This will allow all of the student stakeholders, including the teachers, to access the plan and provide input, and also allows district staff to review and monitor the plans. Priority 2 is to establish a district attendance committee. This committee will meet quarterly to establish and set district-wide attendance goals and monitor the progress. Strategy 3 is to designate an assistant principal to oversee attendance on all the comprehensive high schools and the middle school campuses below 90% attendance. These APs will guide the impact teams and collaborate with district staff and be accountable for their progress. We recognize that teachers are the critical factor in the front lines that can either make or break a student's interest in school. Capturing kids' hearts is an important part of that and the relationships our teachers establish with students. Our campus impact teams rely on teacher input and suggestions, and the MTSS system will allow for their input. We work closely with our judges, but after the 2015 legislative updates, they are limited on the tools they have to enforce attendance laws. Child cases went from criminal to civil cases. This impacted the ability to issue warrants, fines, jail time, orders to attend boot camp, and placement at the Juvenile Justice Center for contempt of court. Our campuses work closely with community partners to provide incentives and celebrations to improve attendance. It's a strong focus for every school, instilling it in their students through campus daily attendance banners, celebrations, announcements, and social media posts. We're encouraged with the gain from last year's attendance, but our work continues, and we're not going to give up. This is a list of students that have had perfect attendance for each 6 weeks this year. Each student earned the Superintendent's Perfect Attendance Award and received surprise visits from district leaders. Their parents received a congratulatory letter from the superintendent, and the students were celebrated among their peers with goodies and on social media. This slide presents a number of students who had perfect attendance by 6 weeks this year. You can also see a dip in the second and third 6 weeks, just like we did with attendance, with perfect attendance due to the cold and flu season. And here are some of the smiling faces from the Superintendent's Perfect Attendance Awards. Thank you for your time. That concludes my presentation. Do you have any questions or comments?
Yeah, Mr. Knight, we do. Dr. Hernandez?
I just want to point out that this is something that has been and continues to be a priority. We know how important attendance is. We really had pretty good attendance before the pandemic, and this is statewide. Not uncommon to have elementary schools at 97, 98 every day, middle schools maybe in the mid-90s, and high schools in the low 90s. Since we've come back from the pandemic, it has been kind of a struggle. I think they got too comfortable with just not having to be at school. Same thing with the parents, not getting them to school, and the older they get, the more difficult it's been. But I do want to commend the team for always trying to look for ways to continue to improve the overall percentage. And we're seeing progress. I did send to our board an email that he mentions one of the strategies that we're doing as a district is there was a time that we had some attendance officers that were housed out of Coles. While they served the entire district, that's just where they officed out of. We felt that a big impact could be possibly made if we put them each assigned to a high school and the entire VLC of that high school. And so we did that this year. And so just to give you an idea of the impact that it's had, let me just share some of these percentages with you. So at Carroll High School, last year they were at a 90.52 average and jumped up to 91.44. King was at 90.64 and have jumped up to 91.88. Miller was at 88.8 and now they're at 89.47. Moody was at 87.19 and have jumped up to 89.43. That's almost 2 percentage points. Ray at 89.99 is now at 91.82, and Veterans, who was at 91.81, has jumped up to 92.98. So those are the kinds of things that we have to keep digging to see what we can do that can help us continue to get that on the right track and set our expectations, because that's what it comes down to. So I appreciate the hard work that Mr. Knipes and Delma and the entire team in the office are doing. Thank you.
Mr. Bell?
Yes, Mr. Knipes, thank you very much. This is a real big issue for me. If we don't get kids to school, they can't get in the game. And that's real important. And we have to do everything we can to help them understand the importance of showing up. A couple quick questions. MTSS attendance contract, what is that?
Well, the MTS system is just a system that we use currently for discipline and also for academics. And like Dr. Hernandez mentioned previously, they're going to use the system too. It's just a way to, a place where you can document and house that attendance contract where everybody has access to it. So all district leadership could pull up a student and they could look in the MTS system and see how they're doing on their attendance contract.
And is this something the student is privy to and the mom and dad are privy to? I mean, when you sit down and have an attendance contract, is this that document, or is there something else, or do we not have a conversation like
It's
that?
the same document, just this is a place to store it. So we'll have access to it. In the following year, we'll have continuing access to this document. It's a place to store it.
Okay, and you mentioned in your presentation that they really kind of handicapped us at the courts, at the court level. So we have a kid that has excessive absences. What's the penalty? What happens to them? They just show up and, try to make up their work and they just move on? Or, what happens to a student as they get to that, was it 10%, then to 17, 18 absences, and then they get to the 20 absences and 30 absences and 40 absences, and we're way over excessive. What happens to those students?
Well, part of that legislative program was to put more emphasis on the schools to be more proactive in the measures they take before we took them to truancy court. So we're still taking students to truancy court. We're putting more steps in place through that attendance contract. We have to meet with them so many times, and the parent and the student. We have to put progress measures in place before we take them to truancy court. Once they go to court, then of course it's up to the judges on what actions they take at that point.
And those progress points, and as you deal with students and mom and dads, what does that look like? Because I know that there's a lot of folks in our community that just don't understand how these kids can have chronic absences, but yet nothing seems to happen in terms of them being absent.
Well, that's what our attendance officers are doing. They're doing the home visits. They're meeting with the parents. They're
Good.
talking to them if they're not able to get them into school to educate them better, so they're able to. And a lot of the students, it's a case-by-case basis. Some might have particular barriers that another student might be. It might be that they're working all hours of the night at Whataburger or whatever to support their family, or it might be they have a transportation problem. So our hope is what those attendance officers and those teams are supposed to be doing is find out what those specific barriers are for each student and help them overcome those barriers so they'll come to school.
Okay, I mean, and that's a tough job. That's a really tough job. Hey, by the way, way to throw Whataburger under the bus.
Sorry, I have a personal story with that.
Yeah, okay. And I know that happens. And that once they get into high school, heck, I know some kids that are getting texts from their bosses about coming in, can you come in, stuff like that during the middle of the day, which is a conversation we need to have with our community that listen, if you want that kiddo to be the next boss, you got to get a degree, a high school diploma. I'm real concerned about making up excessive absences, how we make up excessive absences. That's for another conversation. And I was when I was going through this, I was real concerned about, y'all look at trends and whatnot, and I was looking at we have a trend to where we're really good the first 6 weeks, and then we kind of fade. We come back the fourth 6 weeks, and then we just fade a bunch. And when you start, especially when you start looking at the seniors in high school, that it's like I'm done. I don't need to show up or whatever. And there's got to be some bite to not showing up to school, especially if you're losing the part to be educated. But there has to be some bite to a kid not showing up to school. And I don't know if there's enough bite with what we can do. I know that we're handicapped a little bit, but I definitely would like for us to look at that aspect of getting kids to school on time with their supplies. And tardies is just a whole other different conversation as well, and ready to work. Thank you for your report. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Bell.
Ms. Hawkins.
Thank you for this report. I have just a couple of comments. Mr. Bell already kind of hit on one of them, but the state legislature has opened the door for these high school students to be absent even more when they allow children to work. And I believe, I may be mistaken, I read a lot of laws, I believe it's down to age 14. Is that correct? Is anybody?
I'm not sure.
At any rate, they passed a law allowing, and you probably know about this, allowing students to work even more. And we have historically had a problem with a lot of the fast food restaurants and places that hire our students. And there's always been in place, what, I believe it's a 9 o'clock curfew or 10 o'clock, where they're not supposed to be on that clock past 9 or 10 o'clock. And that has gone out the window. We have kids working till 10, 11, 12 o'clock on a day-to-day basis. And so I'm asking that perhaps there is some kind of intervention or even setting up some plans to address this open door policy for our kids to go to work. And it is going to get worse before it gets better. And so have y'all even thought about or had a discussion about the possibility that we are going to have more and more kids working, and as a result, they're either going to be tardy to class for their morning classes, or they're not going to show up at all, or they're going to leave school early to go to work?
Not something specific, as, but for individual students, we do address it, but I wasn't aware of the change in the law as far as the
Well,
age requirements.
there is a law that's been enacted in this legislative session that allows kids to be even more active on the job. And so we need to start probably planning and looking at that and
Yes,
trying
ma'am.
to figure out what we can do, because it's already an issue that we struggle with. And so, and especially our kids in the lower income kids who have to work.
Yes.
Help support the family, pay the bills, and to take care of themselves. The other thing, I just have a comment. I just want to, I like the idea of the Superintendent's Perfect Attendance Award. Going to the different schools and acknowledging them, I think is one of the perks that would help them to want to be part of that, that attention. So maybe if we can, up that game again and do even more, maybe that will be an incentive for our kids to maybe come to school. And I think there needs to be some really hard looks and perks directed at the high school kids. The little ones come to school. A lot of them don't have choices because mom and dad gets them up and makes them come. But by the time they get to 9th grade, 10th grade, 11th, they're probably not, mom's not telling them, they're telling the mom, I'm not going to do this. So I think that somehow, some way, we need to start looking at trying to buffer and move the dial on our high school students coming to school. I taught high school for years, and I know that that is a tremendous problem. So I know that you guys are struggling and trying to get things in place, but we really need to up our game as adults and as leaders to try to help our students be more successful at coming to school.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Mr. Arredondo.
Just in a comment, Dr. Hernandez, I need to just share that in getting that email in reference to the truant officers, it just kind of gave a smile to my heart, because in previous experience, that's I used to be responsible for truant officers, and that was one of the major recommendations made then, to put our truant officers at each respective high schools. And I can assure you, as you've shown the data, Dr. Hernandez, that there's been improvement. That's just the beginning. It's really going to make an impact. Great relationships as far as the students, especially knowing their truant officer. Things are going to be different. And I just want to commend the administration for that idea and know that it's going to make, it's already made an impact, and it's going to continue to get better. So you got a good force out there to help in our attendance efforts. Thanks again for your report, Mr.
Well, thank you.
Mr. Knipes, thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
All right, we're going to move on to the consent agenda items. We do need to pull A15 for separate vote. But Dr. Hernandez, have you received any other questions on? Having received no other questions on the consent agenda, could I get a motion for item A, items 1 through 14 and 16 through 23, and B, C, and D?
So moved. Second.
Got a motion from Mr. Villarreal, a second from Mr. Arredondo. Pull up the vote tab. All right. On to your deliberators, please.
Come on, deliberator.
Not blinking yet. There.
Oh, sorry.
All right. Our votes are recorded. Why is it mine? Trying. There, I pushed it. Got it. Didn't work on my mouse. Okay, votes recorded, 7-0. Thank you. All right. I pulled the rostrum earlier, action item A. If there are still no questions, we can go ahead and take the vote there. Is that still the case? Okay.
So moved.
Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Got a motion from Mr. Arredondo. May I have a second?
Wait, which
Have a
one
second
is
from
this
Mrs.
one?
Bell. Action item A. The,
But
Up to the
we
action
pulled
item.
15.
Yes.
Do you want to do 15?
oh, yes. Yep.
And for the record, I'll be abstaining. on
Okay.
that.
Mr. Villarreal did remind me I need to go back to consent agenda item A15.
We don't need to.
May I get a motion for that, please?
Second.
Got a motion from Ms. Trolley, a second from Mr. Arredondo. All those in favor? Vote, right? Opposed? And abstained? We are recorded. Thank you. All right, now we'll move to action item A. Is there a motion? The waiver for,
Carol's attendance, second.
got a motion from Ms. Trolley, a second from Mr. Arredondo. Voting is live. And tallied 7-0. Thank you. Next up is action item B. We do have a public comment for action item B. As a reminder, this does hold the 3-minute time limit. Dr. Nancy Vetta.
Clark, point of order, isn't the presentation supposed to be proposed and then I speak on it? Isn't the presentation supposed to be made by?
We've been doing the public comment prior to the presentations, ma'am.
Okay. President Clark, board members, and Dr. Hernandez. We have been, through the CCAFT, asking for better communication from the Corpus Christi Independent School District to the teachers and the employees in this district, and to the community. Case in point, the Alanis Monument. When that was being removed, CCISD thought they were communicating with the family, when indeed they were communicating with someone else, and they didn't get permission to remove the monument and didn't even talk to the family ahead of time. Now the family is not only requesting the replacement of the monument, which I know you have in storage, and also a tree, which is not a sapling, but a full-grown tree, and that the school be named after Army Specialist Andy Alanis, like Colda was named after one of our former students. Because Army Specialist Alanis was the first person from Corpus Christi to die in Operation Desert Storm. That's the one thing. Then the bilingual debacle, where it's upsetting everybody, it's disorganized, and there was no significant input because we still didn't know enough about the focus groups. And so the bilingual education is a debacle because there was no communication and in fact caused some concern by teachers in bilingual education in the community about the resegregation of Corpus Christi ISD. Additionally, with this DOI, we're seeing the same thing. There has been no local input from the community, no input from the teachers. Now you can say, well, yeah, but this is just an amendment. That's a cop-out. I think that we need to be honest with our community, and we need to encourage teachers to give input. I know we had a report earlier that teachers give input on these surveys. Well, you know what? Factoid 1. Many teachers don't fill out the surveys because there are no changes made to the program. Factoid 2, many teachers are afraid of retaliation. So your input, the information that you get here is not actually accurate. We need to ensure, for example, if we're going to have a report on some sort of goal, that maybe we should pick a teacher at random to give her or his version of what's happening in the schools and how they feel about all of this. Why don't we do that? Additionally, where's the strategic plan to retain
Thank you, Dr.
teachers?
Barrow.
Thank you.
Dr. Clement?
Good evening, President Clark, Board of Trustees, and Dr. Hernandez. I am bringing to you a proposed amendment to the District of Innovation Plan that was originally approved by the board on April 26th of 2021. That original plan does expire on April 25th of 2026. The state does allow districts to amend like an add-on. It's really like an add-on to that plan. So you can bring an amendment if you decide to, as a district, if you see a need to amend the plan that was originally approved. That amendment, though, will expire with that plan. Like, in other words, this amendment, if approved, will not have a 5-year cycle as the other. It would expire in 2026 along with the current plan that's in place. So the amendment requirements, whenever there is one, is that it is taken to the district innovation the DOI committee that this board identified as being the DAT committee, the district advisory team that each of our teachers groups elected as their representative to speak for them on the DAT. So we went to the DAT with concerns about, with a proposal for amending the teacher certification requirements. Well, the public code requires a public school employee to hold an appropriate certification for his or her current assignment unless the appropriate permit has been issued. Well, the system does not take into account the district and state challenges we are facing with the post-pandemic, with a significant amount of ongoing vacancies. And so the lack of certified to teach the students, the significant ongoing is we're creating a projected 14% vacancy rate for the 23-24 school year. The current certification requirements inhibit the district's ability to hire or assign professionals who currently hold a teacher certification outside and to be able to teach a course outside of their own certification. Furthermore, it inhibits the district's ability to hire or assign professionals that are going to teach languages other than English, elote, Spanish, or a French, or in this case, right now we have a vacancy for a Chinese French teacher, and unless they're certified, we can't hire them. Or an American Sign Language teacher for grades 6 through 12 who are certified in another subject, or only for those two certifications hold a bachelor's degree with a minimum of 12 college credit hours in the foreign language or the American Sign Language, and have the skills, the knowledge, and the life experiences in the language and are able to perform those duties. So the proposed innovation that we originally took to the DOI committee on May 17th, and we needed a majority vote from them, and we did receive it to move up to this stage to propose to you, is that CCIC will maintain its current expectation for employee certifications and will make every attempt to hire highly qualified teachers with the appropriate certification. But when a vacancy for a qualifying teaching position arises, we will ensure that the vacant position has been advertised for a minimum of 2 weeks. Applications will be gathered. The district will make every effort to hire individuals with the appropriate certification. However, when that's not possible, the district will have the flexibility to hire a teacher who is currently certified in another subject to teach a course outside of their certification based on their education, their skills, their background, and or their experience. So teacher agreement also, and this was something that came out of our DAT committee, and we completely wholeheartedly agreed, that teacher agreement must be secured prior to hiring or assigning a teacher to a course that is outside of their certification, but specific only to languages other than English, which we struggle a great deal to even hire them, being able to do that if they're certified in another certification or an American Sign Language, is that if we're unable to hire someone who is certified in another area or hold a bachelor's degree and have a minimum of 12 college credit hours in the foreign language or in American Sign Language, and have the skills, the knowledge, and the life experiences in the language, and are able to perform the duties assigned to that position. Again, with this specific proposal, is that teacher agreement must be secured in order to assign. Our plan, proposed plan, is that, of course, if we do hire a teacher who is certified but is teaching outside of their certification, then they will be required to participate in at least 8 hours of professional development within the first year of employment, and these hours will focus on their assigned course TEKS, course curriculum, instructional guides, components of effective instruction, and differentiating instruction for learners. They'll be assigned a mentor teacher with a minimum of 2 years teaching experience who will assist them with their instructional planning, and they'll be required to meet with the same professional development requirements of all certified teachers. All non-certified hires in the areas of Lote, languages other than English, and American Sign Language will be required to participate in 20 hours of professional development within the first year of employment. These hours should focus on classroom management, assigned course TEKS, course curriculum, instructional guides, components of effective instruction, and differentiating instruction for their for students. And they'll be also assigned a teacher mentor, and they'll be required to meet the same professional development requirements as all certified teachers. Let me, though, note that under federal rule, this does not apply to special education or bilingual teachers. We are not allowed to hire them unless they're fully SBAC certified, and that's a federal rule that the state even can't get around. And so just to give you a little more context is that this year, what drove us here is that this year we had a total of 35 teachers vacancies all year long that we were unable to fill at any point. That impacted 3,240 students. During this school year, we have had a total of 172 vacancies, 90 in elementary, 82 in secondary. We had 14,960 students who were impacted by having a substitute or a series of substitutes or a paraprofessional that had to watch the class, or pulling from the campus resources, especially on our north and west side of town. And so looking forward with our resignations and retirements, right now as of today, we have 193 of those that would impact 17,955 students if we don't fill them some way. When we used the original plan to hire for CTE, and we were allowed to hire we have hired so far 13, and we have 3 more pending hires for a total of 16 in our district from the original DOI plan. And those have been successful hires. And so looking forward to this and requesting this proposal to be approved by all of you, with all due respect.
Thank you, Dr. Clement. Quick clarification. I believe you said that it was assigned a mentor teacher with a minimum of 2 years, but our document says 3.
Your document says, mine says 2. Which
Assigned
document
mentor
are you
teacher with a
looking at?
minimum of 3 years.
It should be 2. Yeah, it says 2.
You can point at it. I'm looking at mine right here.
Are you looking at the amendment that we submitted? Yeah.
Okay. I don't know why mine says 3. It's okay. That's
Thank
fine.
you.
It's 2 years.
Thank you.
Okay. I don't see any questions. Now I see questions. Ms. Hawkins?
Okay. Historically, I have been against this type of hiring or this particular item going into the system. I have some concerns about hiring people who are not certified and taking them through certifications that are jammed through at record speed. We have certified teachers right now that struggle with the classroom, and I don't see that that will change with bringing someone from the outside in and having them to deal with all of the things, the classroom situation and behavior and all of the other things that needs to happen. And I've struggled with this. I really have struggled with this particular situation. One of the things that I feel like that will happen is, well, what happens if we hire a teacher and after 6 or 8 weeks or 10 weeks or whatever, they decide, I'm out of here. Then we are back to a substitute for those students. I'm not sure how much impact or how many students it's going to impact, but it will. But before I go on, I want to ask you, how did you arrive at those numbers of students that were impacted as a result of substitutes, teachers that were, in and out, and these kids suffering? How was that number?
We looked at the elementary, number when we took the elementary figure of vacancies we had through the year. An average number we took across campuses was 25 per teacher. So for every vacancy, we calculated 25 for every vacancy. In secondary, the average number of students, some are more, some are less, but the average number of a middle school or high school teacher has of students is 155. So we tabulated 155 by the number of vacancies that we had, and the number of vacancies we had all year long without ever being able to fill.
Okay. And I admit that we are in a free fall when it comes to educators leaving the profession. I agree to that. And it not only started, it didn't just start with the COVID, but COVID just accelerated that situation. But if we are asking all certified teachers to operate and meet, I see where you are making the effort to get these new people that you are bringing in certified and then getting them up and running on our systems, all of our reporting systems, our LMSs and all of that, where they may not have been, and I'm talking about bringing people in that have not been teaching. If we hire somebody that is a teacher already and certified, more than likely that teacher already knows those systems. But to bring somebody in that hasn't dealt with this can be very daunting. And it just seems to me that all of the things that we are asking them to do to get up to snuff on being in the classroom is an awful lot of stuff in a very short period of time. And I just see that it's going to help, perhaps, but I do see that there's going to be holes in this program where people are going to step up, say, I want to do it, I want to teach, and then after a 6-week period of time or whatever, they're walking off the job. And I know this is going to happen, and I know that because it's happening even with certified teachers that have been in the classroom 10, 12 years. So we know what to expect with somebody that's not been in this situation for years. And you said the DAT team of 2021, did they look at this plan?
The way that the plan is the current DAT team that is a DOI, we would go to the current committee that's a DAT committee, and we did present this to them on May 17th.
Okay, so the list of people that you put in the paperwork here is not synced up with the people that looked at.
If this proposal is passed and it's submitted to the state, we must include this year's DAT committee according to them. And that is what we will add to our paperwork that we submit to the state. They do not want us to take the DAT committee that is no longer in authority as representatives of their colleagues. It is the current DAT committee. That
Yeah,
is the
and
DOI
just
committee.
to add to that, it's because of the staggered terms. So it's no different than the board, you know. So people get elected, new people get elected. It's the board at that time that decides, not a committee that was in place 3 years ago.
Well, I was looking at it, and I noticed that at least one person is retired. One person has become a teacher. Another has moved from, if I'm not mistaken, is that not true?
Which list are you looking at, Ms.
Well,
Lopez?
I looked at, well, you have a list of the DAT team of 2021 on here.
Yes,
That's the
because I
original.
attached the original plan.
So do you not attach a list of the current people?
When we submitted to the state, we weren't required to bring it here, but I can get you that list of the current DAT committee.
Well, I was just wondering because if you say you're submitting the current, why would it not be attached also to the 2021 team? And that was my concern.
It's an add-on, so the state just, almost as if you would, you know, virtually think, I'm going to attach this to the back. So what the state views it, it's an add-on added to this. This does not change this document. We just add the other to the back of it, and it continues together.
Okay, I would really.
I hope that makes sense.
Well, yeah, it does. I just wanted to see that the current DAT team. That's what I wanted.
We can
to
get
see.
that for you, ma'am.
Okay. Well, I'm just really struggling with this one because bringing and you said 14%. What is 14% of the vacancies represent in real numbers?
309 when I originally ran this a few weeks ago. I checked this morning, and we are up to 365. We've actually rose to 17% projected.
So that 14 is going to be up
Yes.
to 17%.
Yeah, it's going to be.
Well, I appreciate you going in and running the numbers as of today because that helps a lot. Because I know that when you guys give us these reports, y'all start working on them a couple of weeks in advance, and a lot of things change sometimes between the time you actually start your report and when you give it. And I would ask if that would not be the case with all of our reports that deal with statistics, because it is very important that we have the latest information when we are putting our vote out there to know what we are actually voting on. I don't want to vote on I don't want to vote on a 3-week report. If it's possible that you can get us up to date when you bring us these reports. And thank you for that, Dr. Clement. I really appreciate that. But in times past, we have gotten stuff that was 3 and 4 weeks old, and that's really not giving us the benefit of the doubt. And we put our name on something, and things change from the time you actually start the report until we vote on it. And I don't want to vote on something that I don't have the latest information on. So thank you for that. I did see something on page 125. Hire CTE must have 3 years of teaching to mentor non-certified. Is that correct?
What are you looking at?
Well, I'm looking, I'm guessing it's
It's the original plan, is what she's looking at. Page 125
That's
of our
the
board book.
CTE teacher, so that's not in our amendment. That was already approved in 2021. So that plan follows, those requirements follow that certification. These requirements follow this proposal. And our current plan that we have in the district for mentoring that we started with Dr. Katie Walker is follow the state's recommendation of 2 years mentoring teachers. Of course, those teachers are selected very carefully to make sure that they're strong teachers that are capable and ability to be able to mentor and learn alongside their mentee. But that is the current standard we're using because we'll use that program itself for this as we do with any new hire.
Okay. All right. Well, I had some other questions, but I'm just going to let it stay at that.
Mr. Bell?
If you don't mind, we can pause right here and do our awards and recognition, and then move on after that.
Do it.
Because I have questions.
Okay. All right, yeah, we can table if you're saying you're going to be a while.
Yes.
Okay? Then we'll,
No, just,
we're just for right now.
Just put
We're
it
gonna
off.
we're going to do the recognitions, and then we'll come back and have further discussion. We're not taking to a different meeting now.
no.
Okay, yeah, that is fine. So, Ms. Libby, are we good? Dr. Clement, we'll call you back in a minute. Go. You need to go.
Thanks, Don, I appreciate it.
Yeah.
If we have any honorees who are in here, particularly students, if you could go back out to the lobby, because we do a great job of getting everybody lined up, which helps us get everybody in and out. Also, if you're along the wall and you're not an honoree, you're about to get run over because they're going to come in this way and they're going to go back out down the middle. So I kind of need to keep that clear so traffic can keep going. So we're going to kind of do the final organization, get everybody all set, and we'll get started here. And thank you. All right, good evening, President Clark, members of the board, Dr. Roland Hernandez. We're going to begin this evening with a couple of wonderful staff recognitions. We inadvertently left one of our amazing HEB Excellence in Education semifinalists out with the big crowd. So at this time, I would like to bring forward our very wonderful Megan Butler of Sam Houston Elementary School. also one of our previous Teachers of the Year. As a reminder, HEB asks customers, employees, and community members to nominate teachers and individuals in various other categories. Each nominee is sent an invitation to complete an application online, and a team of judges reviews the applications and selects our semifinalists. And at this time, I'd like to invite Principal Celeste Fernandez and Executive Director of School Leadership, Kelsey Morris, to please come forward for the photo. Or Dr. Presses, come forward for the photo. Hold those smiles. All right, congratulations. Thank you so much. All right, next on our list are our American Heart Association Heart of Gold principals. Principals receive this special recognition if they implement 3 or more mission activities, including implemented the Kids Heart Challenge, the American Heart Challenge, and/or the District Heart Challenge, served on the South Texas Principal Leadership Team, or were an active voice of principal feedback sessions. And so we have 2 principals to recognize. I know we have one here this evening, the other could not join us, and we have a representation from the Heart Association as well. So at this time, I would like to call forward Principal Carolyn Bentz from Morelos Elementary School. Mrs. Bentz supported the Kids Heart Challenge on her campus, led them to the most impactful year yet. We also honor Galvan's Diana Ibarra for having the largest impact on her campus. And at this time, I would like to call forward Sonia Marinas with the American Heart Association. She's the Director of Development for Youth Programs. If you'd please come forward and join us. And Dr. Presses, if you could come back and join us as well. Hold those smiles, going once, going twice. Thank you, Principal Bentz, you make us proud. All right, we're going to move right along now to our academic all-state track and field. Students, if you have not done this before, you're going to come forward and greet the board members, receive a certificate from Dr. Hernandez. Please stay with your group. We'll take a picture by campus. We'll begin with Carroll High School, where we honor Elena Mena. No, but you can clap for her, it's fine. Janesha Kelly. In addition to being academic all-state, she is also the state high jump participant. Lencia Glad. And Elizabeth Juarez. All right, calling forward Principal Robert Arredondo, Athletic Director Brenda Marshall, Coach Tracy Jensen, Athletic Coordinator Cal Netherland, and Executive Director Dr. Bruce Wilson. Please come join us for the photo. All right, and parents, I also did not say we're going to do the district photographer first, but as we go through these, if you want to get a little closer after she finishes, you're more than welcome to come up and get the photo that you'd like. So hold on for us just a moment. All right, hold those smiles, please. Come on up. You're more than welcome. All right, congratulations. If y'all could exit down the center aisle, we'll bring our next group up. Down the center aisle. Thank you. All right, our next honorees are from Richard King High School, Taylor King. Isaiah Bunch. Jose Arceniega. Andre Rodriguez. I'd like to invite Principal Prudence Farrell, Athletic Director Brenda Marshall, Coach Robert Torres, Athletic Coordinator Doug Foster, Dr. Bruce Wilson, come join for the photo. Hold those smiles, please. Families, if you'd like to get your photo. Get everybody? All right, congratulations. All right, our next group represents Miller High School. Reagan Tatum. Second team academic all-state. We'd like to invite Principal Sandy Salinas de Leon, Brenda Marshall, Coach Roxanne Benavides, Athletic Coordinator Justin Evans, Dr. Bruce Wilson. Please come join us for the photo. Hold those smiles. Come on up. All right, congratulations. Our next group of athletes represents Ray High School, David Tupaw. Javari Ayala. Second team academic all-state, Tyler Gatewood. Elite team academic all-state, Luke Stevenson. Second team academic all-state, Max Yoskovitz. Leighton Carpenter. Second team academic all-state, Connor Hall. With Principal Roxanne Cuevas, Brenda Marshall, Athletic Coordinator Craig Charlton, Coach Shyler Anderson, and Dr. Bruce Wilson, please join us for the photo. Hold those smiles, family members. All right, congratulations. You could exit down the middle row, please, so I can bring my next group up. Thank you. All right, our next group represents Veterans Memorial High School, Declan Fox. Elite Team Academic All-State, Elam Fox. Elite Team Academic All-State, Andy Huen. Honorable Mention Academic All-State, Aiden Mercado. Second Team Academic All-State, Andrew Zapata. Honorable Mention Academic All-State, DeMarcus Morris. Second Team Academic All-State, Alyssa Mosier. Honorable Mention Academic All-State, Ileana Villegas. Honorable Mention Academic All-State with Principal Scott Walker, Brenda Marshall, Coach Dwayne Rush, Coach Eric Miller, Athletic Coordinator Ben Bittner, Dr. Bruce Wilson. Please come join us for the photo. All those smiles, you got a group. Keep holding those smiles. We're going to wait for all y'all parents, don't worry. Two more, hang in there, three more. Maybe four more. Going once, going twice. All right, congratulations, Eagles. If you could please exit down the center aisle for me, please. Center aisle, so I can bring in my next group. All right, next up we have our golfers. This is Academic All-State Golf. Students, as you come forward, you'll take a certificate from Dr. Hernandez, greet the board, remain standing for a photo with your classmates. All right, we're going to begin with Ray High School, Kevin Tron. Second team Academic All-State, Patrick Corey. Second team Academic All-State, Zachary Dennis. Isabella Sarau. Academic All-State, we'd like to invite Principal Roxanne Cuevas, Brenda Marshall, Coach Tiffany Gonzalez, Coach Vicente Cavazos, Athletic Coordinator Craig Charlton, Dr. Bruce Wilson. All right, attention toward district photographer first, please. All right, hold those smiles.
Act like you like us.
All right, congratulations. Then exit down the center aisle, please. Thank you. All right, Veterans Memorial High School golfers, Jacob Blackburn. Second team Academic All-State, Ryan Alvarez. Second team Academic All-State, Anissa Farias. Kylie Sines. UIL 5A state qualifier, Principal Scott Walker, Brenda Marshall, Coach Glenn Holmans, Coach Jessica Salazar, Ben Bentner, and Dr. Bruce Wilson. Come on up. All right, hold those smiles, please. Keep holding. These family members worked hard for these pictures. Keep holding. I got one in the back. Going once, going twice. All right, congratulations. All right, the next group we're going to introduce is students who have earned national merit recognition. We begin with Ray High School and students who were commended for national merit. Fletcher Gill. Isaac Elliott. Tyler Gatewood. Delwyn Kim. Alina Lee. Joanna Wong. And if Principal Roxanne Cuevas, IB Administrator Lorinda Hamilton, Dr. Bruce Wilson, please join us for the photo. Okay. Hold those smiles. I see a lot of proud cameras. Watch behind you. Keep holding. One more. You can do it. All right, congratulations. Students, if you could go down the middle, please. Thank you. All right, we also have a number of students from Veterans Memorial High School who earned National Merit Recognition. Dabalucci y Sofia. Jenny Sue. Hayden Bull. Catherine Hamish. Christine Infante. We invite Principal Scott Walker, Jennifer Aguilar, Dean at Veterans Memorial High School, and Dr. Bruce Wilson. Please come join us for the photo. All right, attention on the district photographer first, please. All right, hold those smiles. Keep holding, we've got a line. Keep holding, we got two more. All right, congratulations. All right, we've got a healthy size group yet. This is our career and technical education students who have qualified for national or international competition. Students, as I introduce each of you, please come forward, get your certificate, and greet the board. And we're going to move forward. I'm seeing a little late change, but we're just going to move on. Okay, we're going to keep going. And we're going to take photos per campus. So the following students qualified for the first robotics championship competition for 2023. Begin with Pedro Espinoza. Jose Ramirez. Joshua Schwartzfeger. Yadil Escamilla. Daniel Cortez. Lillian Huber. Sai Chinasani. Allison Collado. Javier Calunga. Helen Valdivia. Andrea Gonzalez. Daniel Romero. Alexandria Rodriguez. Raul Chavez. Cece Lopez. Christopher Ramirez. Justin Schwartzfeger. Apolionio Villarreal. Gabriela Gonzalez. Isaiah Garza. Emeterio Garcia. Joel Yowell. Josiah Ponce. All right, kiddos, you're going to have to gather in a little bit. And Principal Dr. Tracy Rodriguez, CTE Coordinator Melody Pro Smith, CTE Business Education Sandy Riggs, CTE Marketing Education Susan Hundle, Dr. Sandra Clement, Dr. Bruce Wilson. Please come join the photo. If I'm missing some certificates, I'll get them to you. Absolutely. Do I have some more names I need to announce? Okay, branch students, you want to join as well. Those were the names I had. Okay, we have Faith Fedare. Faith, are you here? Great. We have Joseph Trevino and Crystal Kayayab. I practiced that earlier. I was a little better. All right, so we have the whole Collegiate Branch family together in one place. All right, family members, we will wait for you. If the students could please give their attention first to the district photographer, then we'll give you plenty of time to get your photo, so please bear with us. Yeah, Dr. Wilson, maybe you could go up a step. And then students, one of you could go up a step. If you can get, there we go. Okay, okay. All right, district photographer, please. All right, hold those smiles. You're going to be there for a minute. That's okay. I know your parents did a lot to get you here, too. Keep holding. You can do this. Keep holding. I see more cameras at the ready. I see about 3 more, I think. Two more. Do you want to come in more toward the center? You got what you need? All right. All right, students, congratulations. Oh.
Special thanks to all the parents for supporting this group.
All right, and for this group especially, if you would please exit down the middle so we can get our next group in, I sure would appreciate it. Congratulations. Thank you so much. All right, I'm showing my next honoree is from King High School. Do I have a student here from King High School waiting to be honored? Or am I going to move on to Moody? Who do I have waiting? Got a little bit of a traffic jam. I have a King High School Health Occupation Skills of America honoree. All right, if she comes, we'll honor her in a little bit. I'm going to move on to Moody High School. We ready, Moody High School? Probably need to let some folks get down the hall so they can make their way in here. All right. The following Moody High School students qualified for MATE Underwater Robotics World Championship for 2023. We begin with Audrey Alvarado. Alan Castaneda. Layla Chapa. Christian Estrada. Emery Johnson. Albert Mendoza. Jonah Morales. Enyon Perales. Xavier Rodarte. Christopher Sosa. Daniel Cantu. Madeline Cantu. DeAndre Washington. And we're also honoring Adriana Gonzalez. She qualified for the Educators Rising as a national qualifier. All right, I'd like to invite up at this time Moody Assistant Principal Joseph Rupp, CTE Coordinator Melody Pro Smith, Dr. Sandra Clement, CTE Building Trades Mario Biarena, Athletic Coordinator Mike Cantu, Dr. Bruce Wilson, please come join me for the photo. And if I missed anybody, come on up. Why not? All right, parents, hold those smiles. Sorry, you caught me looking at my script. No, you're fine. Good. Come on up. Get what you want. And you can get a little closer too if you'd like. My Zoom doesn't work that well, so I'd have to get closer. Going once, going twice. All right, congratulations, Moody Trojans. You could exit down that middle aisle. That helps us get our next group in, please. All right, I believe my next group up is Veterans Memorial High School. Haley Ladenka. Health Occupation Skills of America Healthcare Issues Exam, competing at the International Leadership Conference. Principal Scott Walker, Melody Pro Smith, Dr. Sandra Clement, Vanessa Castaneda, and Bruce Wilson. Please come join us for the photo. Hold those smiles. All right, congratulations. All right, now representing King High School, we honor Hybeth Aguilar Aranda. Health Occupation Skills of America, state third place winner, national eligible. Principal Prudence Farrell, Melody Pro Smith, Elizabeth Uresti, Dr. Bruce Wilson, Sandra Clement, please come forward for the photo. Hold those smiles. One way in the back. Going once, going twice. All right, congratulations. All right, I think I have next science fair, but I'm hearing maybe I've missed a group. For which? CTE, okay, I don't. I know I have you in here, Iris. Give me just a second. All right, we're going to go right off the certificates. All right, I call forward the following students who are honored in Educators Rising National Qualifier. Megan Hancock. Victoria Sepulveda. Aurora Hinojosa. Michaela Lirio. I never remember these are on my script. Shania Molina. Raylan Ramirez. Jimena Sanchez. I think our other one is not here. All right, Dr. Tracy Rodriguez, Iris Simmons, come on forward. Dr. Bruce Wilson, please come forward and join us for the photo. Hold those smiles. Keep holding. Okay, going once, going twice. All right, congratulations. All right, our next group is our secondary regional science fair winners. Students, as I call your name, come forward and get a certificate. Please stay up here and we will take a photo of all of you from middle school at once. So I'm going to begin with Baker Middle School, Tony Cantu. Third place, Animal Science, Berea Klaus. Malik Gomez. Elijah Vargas. First place, Physics and Astronomy, Peyton Porsche. Juliana Martinez. All right, moving on to Caffey Middle School, Logan Davis. Kristen Yakas. CF Lauren Aguirre, Harriet Cacho, Brooklyn Wall, Ethan Cronkite. Second place in Material Sciences, Christian Zamora. Luke Lamb. Luke earned second place in Translational Medical Science. First place, Luke, woohoo. Thanks, Mom. Ashlyn Addison. Sophia Rodriguez. Carrie Spencer. Carrie earned first place in Behavioral and Social Sciences, Michael Udo. All right, and if our principals, John Dobbins, Bucky Hartman, science teachers Rose Alvarez, Megan Brown, Sally Lewis, Dr. Hopkins, Erica Castillo, Dr. Elizabeth Pettis, please come join the photo. Okay, first for the district photographer, and then families will give you plenty of opportunity for photos. All right, hold those smiles for your families. They are ready. Keep holding. Two more. One more in the back. He's got a good zoom, better than me. Okay, congratulations. Thank you so much. Good to see you. All right, moving on now to high school. WB Ray High School, Sharmita Palakurthu. Fourth place in Translational Medicine category, International Science and Engineering Fair. Leela Boddingvela. Sarah Boddingvela. They both earned third place in Physics and Astronomy. Unal McLaughlin. First place in Physics and Astronomy. Any of our students from Veterans Memorial High School? No. All right. So, Principal Roxanne Cuevas, Secondary Science Specialist Melissa Winkler. Our science teachers, if you are here this evening, Lorinda Hamilton, if you'd like to come back up, Porfirio Zamora, we'd love for you to join the photo. And Carmen Hockmuller, who I was reminded and missed. So sorry, our assistant principal who oversaw the science fair for Ray High School. Carmen, come on up. Good to see you.
All right, if you aim your attention to the district photographer first, please. All right, hold those smiles for your proud parents and proud classmates. All right, going once, going twice. Congratulations. Thank you so much. Mr. President, this concludes our recognitions for this evening.
Okay, we will resume our discussion on action item B. Mr. Bell.
All right, thank you for your patience and pausing it so we can visit with this a little bit longer. You know, when looking at this, the DOI proposal that y'all put forward, and all of us in education always, what's best for the kids? That's our driving force. Not necessarily what's best for the administrator, but what's best for the kids. And you say 14% of our, we're going to have a 14% vacancy rate, but how does that compare with previous years? Is 14% low? Is 14% high? Do we normally have a 9% vacancy rate at this time of year? Or, you know, where are we compared to that? Because, yeah, 14 sounds high, but we really don't know as a school board how that compares with 2016 pre-COVID. And I think that's something really important to bring forward. Also, when looking at this, and we need to be sure to understand that the only this proposal, and I want some clarification that the only people that we're looking at hiring in this proposal that's non-certified are the ASL and LOTE, language of
Others in English.
other
yes.
than English. Those are the only people that we're looking for, somebody that can teach ASL and LOT. What LOTE? What courses are we looking at that?
Our areas that we are struggling the most with, we can't even find applicants for, are 4 Spanish and 1 Chinese French.
Chinese French.
/
Okay.
French, yes.
And at some point in time, and I understand that there's graduation, we're dictated by graduation requirements. Kids have certain paths and they need certain courses and whatnot. And at some point in time, if we don't have enough kids, I would venture to say that that's not a very large class. A Chinese French class is not a very large class, still necessary for their future endeavors, that maybe we can't offer that class. And that's never an option that you want to go to, but that's something you got to look at. And if we're teaching Spanish 6 and 7 and 8, you got to look at your class loads is for our Spanish teachers, and maybe we need to not teach those upper level courses where the class loads are so extremely small and it's not cost efficient. And then my understanding is that we have, let's say Coach Bell's teaching science. I'm a science teacher, and they come to me and said, the principal says, hey, we really like you to teach social studies. And okay, I like teaching history, so they're going to pencil me in to teach history. They've advertised for two weeks, can't find a social studies teacher, and so now I'm going to go and teach history, U.S. history. 3 weeks later, we find somebody. We find a certified teacher that's fully certified as a social studies teacher, an expert in their subject matter, somebody that has taught before, and that's going to be a good fit for us. What are we going to do? How are we going to, we're just not going to hire that person? We're going to hire that person, put them in, and then Coach Bell goes back and he teaches science. What are we going to do in that scenario?
The way that we do our hiring right now is that once the position is filled, we no longer seek for it. But in our district, we don't expect, I'm going to tell you honestly, don't think that this is going to solve every vacancy that we have. We're hoping that it will shorten the number of vacancies that we currently have, but we don't think it'll fill all. So social studies coach Marty Bell may still be hired by another campus and still needed at that time. What I have discovered, because our DAT committee are representatives of their teachers, this word has gotten out to teachers.
Right.
And I've had contacts from teachers who have told me, wow, in fact, one at the DAT committee said, you mean that I can apply to teach health? Because I've always loved health. Can I teach health? I had someone call me who is an English teacher that wants to teach journalism, but currently you have to have 6 hours, I think 6 or 8 hours, 6 hours in journalism in order to teach it, even if you're certified in English. Well, this would give them the opportunity to be able to do that. You may have a 6th grade reading teacher who says, you know what? I want to quit teaching, but if I can go to elementary and teach and I don't have that certification and I don't want to go through the process and I don't want to have to pay the money unless I know I'm going to love it, then they can apply to go to that position. The beauty of this is that we're also, an unintended benefit was that we're giving teachers also a choice to attempt to teach a course that they hadn't thought of, and they may want to seek a certification if they're able to do it and love it. Now, are we just going to hire? And I'm just using as an example, we're just going to hire Marty Bell, the science teacher for that social studies? No, you'll be vetted to ensure that you're the right fit for that campus at that time, because the alternative is a series, sometimes, in the most cases, a series of substitute teachers who may or may not show up.
Okay, and I'll talk about that in just a second. And so, and correct me if I'm wrong, that once you're a certified teacher, once I pass my certification, I can go challenge any test to be certified in anything I want to. All I have to do is pass that certification, and I'm fully vetted, certified to teach that subject. I don't have to, and this goes back, and y'all been in education long enough. They used to be able to teach at least one course out of your subject area years ago. The state of Texas said that wasn't a real good idea, so they went away with that, and now we're trying to come back and bring it back as a district of innovation. And so if a teacher wants to teach another subject, they can go challenge the course. And if they challenge it and they fail the test and they're not certified, we're still going to put them in there because we think, hey, that's a good fit and it solves some problems. I don't know if that's the right answer for, if that was my kid, I don't know if that's the right answer for me as if I was a parent. And so what happens to Coach Bell if I'm about halfway through the year and I'm thinking, you know, this teaching history stuff is not exactly what I thought it was going to be. I really don't want to do it anymore. I've got to finish the year out. I'm assuming that I got to finish the year out. And will I be able to go back and teach science like I was before? Or do we hire a science teacher that took my place and now I'm displaced and rifted off my campus?
Teacher agreement is required before a reassignment or a hire. If Coach Bell at the end of the year chooses no longer to teach that position, then Coach Bell has to seek a science position on the campus. Campus may have a science position that takes Coach Bell. That's between the principal and Coach Bell. But yes, you would have to agree then to continue to teach it. We have so many vacancies. I don't think that Coach Bell would have that issue. What we're hoping is that Coach Bell would love social studies and then even get that additional certification.
So you're hoping that teacher goes there. And what I just heard right there, I've been at Vets for 10 years, and I'm going to help you guys out. I'll go teach history, and then next year I'm going to teach science, and all the science courses filled up. So I have to seek a job somewhere else within the district if there's not a science job available at that time.
If that's what you choose to do. Currently, as any teacher who doesn't like the course they're teaching, and we have teachers who teaching at the high school level, even at the middle school level or the elementary level, and saying, I don't want to teach third grade anymore. I really don't like it. I want to go to 6. Well, it falls upon that teacher to seek that, as they do. It doesn't happen a lot, but it does happen. I don't think that Coach Bell would have been vetted well by the committee as well as the district committee for DOI to ensure that that was really something that Coach Bell wanted to do and that he did have a background in history that propelled him to want to go in that direction. Now, if Coach Bell said, I wanted to go teach health, then Coach Bell might love health, might not. It would be like any other position that would have still sitting in a regular classroom.
Okay, and at the elementary school, correct me if I'm wrong, most elementary school teachers have a generalist certification. So they can already teach math, science, English at the elementary school. So this really doesn't affect elementary schools
It does because some have an early childhood, have to have an early childhood certification. You may have a special education teacher who may want to teach, not able to teach 4th grade, may be good at it and wants to teach 4th grade. That type of situation may occur as well, but they are struggling as well, and we'd like to see if this is approved, if it could help us. We have to renew it again with the original, so it gives us some time to look at whether it was beneficial or not to us, and if it's worth continuing on the renewal 3 years from now, in 2026.
Yeah, but we're not going to take a special ed teacher out of special ed. And how are we going to? Well, if we're a certified teacher and they're moving to another class and they're still certified, so we're going to pay them accordingly as a certified teacher. Okay, and our ASL people that they may be strong in the ASL community, and we think they have to have a bachelor's degree, and then they come in and they have to take 20 hours of professional development. And who is going to teach the 20 hours of professional development?
They have to come in with 12 hours in college hours in ASL as well as a bachelor's degree. So they would have already had the 12 hours in ASL. And so our CNI specialists and the ones that are ASL, we have some that support our current ASL teachers, they would be the person to provide that support.
Okay, so they're not going to have to go to the service center. They're not going to have to go to the
Although there may be
university
some
or-
outside staff development that they would still benefit from that we could add on if they wanted to. Yeah, and we felt it prudent.
And do we currently have an ASL stipend? Do we currently have an ASL stipend?
I'm not aware.
How about Lodi stipends? Do we have Lodi stipends? So we historically have had, if it's like our bilingual people, our special ed people, if it's an area of need, we've kind of had a stipend for them, right?
And fortunately, we have a really good group of ASL teachers in the area that have been with us. We haven't really been without ASL teachers. We do have a stipend for special ed and bilingual. Those are the hardest nationwide to find, but that's a local decision. I just think once you start offering stipends to every, not that they don't deserve it, but it'll definitely add up real fast.
I understand that, but it's a area of great need. Evidently, we wouldn't be here with a proposal for if it was an area of great need. And I'm assuming that we have looked at alternative methods like distance learning, online learning to help these kiddos that maybe not have a substitute, may not have a certified teacher. I think there's ways for us to engage our students that maybe can help this situation. Also, we have retired teachers that do come back and substitute for us that have been fully certified. They're veterans, and we are using them as long-term subs. So some of these classes may have been covered by long-term subs, and which brings me to the question. So we had 35 classes that we didn't have a teacher for the whole year. So what did we do to cover them? Those classes. So what did we do to cover those classes?
I'd have to look into every individual class. I can tell you that some we had long-term subs, some long-term subs that we had could only do it for a month. Some could do it for a week. Some left it after a week. Some days we didn't have anyone. There was just a lot of pieced out people in and out of those classrooms.
Well, that's an avenue that for me, I think we should explore in finding those. I know that we don't retire, rehire, in which the state may give us some relief on that, which will open up a whole different group of teachers available to us, which I hope they do the right thing. But if they don't, then I would hope that we would look at long-term subs. I think we pay them, $180 a day for if they're a certified teacher as a long-term sub. We might take a look at that as if you're going to stay in there as a long-term sub for 6 weeks or a semester or whatnot, that we may be able to increase your pay right there. Because to me, I think having somebody that's an expert teacher with great pedagogy and good classroom management, those kids are really going to learn. But if you don't have an expert teacher in there, they're going to struggle because they're not going to get that body of knowledge that they need. And I would love to teach history. I don't know how good a history teacher I would have been, but I would love to teach it. Well, I don't know if I'd been good for the kids or not. Also, I really struggled with, we have a teacher that the campus principal, the human resource representative and content specialist, they have powwowed and say, yeah, we're going to give you the opportunity to go teach over here, but you're going to be and I'm assuming that's going to be a veteran teacher that will be the one that will want to do that. I think that might be kind of interesting. I'm going to go do that. And so now we're going to have somebody that only has 2 years of experience mentoring this veteran teacher. And I'm assuming that it's going to be a content, curriculum, things like that, because they've already probably have their pedagogy and classroom management stuff down. And I just kind of find that interesting that we would think that somebody that has 2 years of classroom experience is going to be able to help out that person. And the last thing is I taught when it was, you could teach one class out of your subject. And I'm going to tell you this right now, there was a lot of voluntold about you're going to teach this class. And I know that there's a committee here and we're going to vet it and it looks really good on paper, but when we drill this down to the secondary level at middle schools and high schools, that sometimes people are going to get voluntold. Hey, raise your hand. Thank you for volunteering. You're going to get to do this now. And that's what scares me most about this, is that we're going to take certified teachers that we have hired them for this job, and they have a conversation with their principal, and the next thing we know, they're teaching this over here that they're not certified in. So I think there's a lot of things that are problematic for this. And I just don't think that that's going to be what's best for kids. I know it's we're trying to solve a problem that our district has. Well, maybe we should look at our pay rate. Maybe we should look at our teacher contract. Maybe we should look at things to engage people that want to come to CCISD and teach in CCISD so that we don't have, it's going to be a struggle. So we have to do things that I feel that are enticing for teachers to come here and be here. And that's just kind of where I am on this. I'm just not a real big fan of this. I know you guys have worked really hard. I know the district advisory team had looked at this. And the thing that got me was it had to be a majority vote. It didn't have to be a unanimous, it had to be a majority vote. And that means that they had one person yay more than the nays. I visited with some folks that are on the district advisory team, and the conversation I had is that the elementary school teachers really didn't have a problem with it because it's really not going to affect them. But the secondary teachers, there was a lot of conversation from the secondary teachers about what it can do, how it can do it, and the impact of it, and the value of it. And my understanding was it wasn't just a smash hit for all the secondary teachers on the DAT. I visited with some folks, some teachers that are currently teaching high school, that are veteran teachers. And of course, they don't see the big pictures like you guys do. They don't see that. But their conversation is, well, I don't want my kid not to have a certified teacher. And so our district it has to do a better job of trying to get certified teachers. And the last thing, the last comment I want to have is that one of the things that we tout in public schools is that private schools, they don't have to have certified teachers. That's one of the benefits of being in private schools. And so what is our education model going to is that, well, we're going to take teachers that are certified, but we're going to move them over here. And so I think we get on a slippery slope, and I don't care for it. And so that's kind of where I am on this. And, I know that we vote for a reason, and that's kind of where I am on this. Thank you for your time and your report. I appreciate it. I really do.
Thank you.
Mr. Villarreal.
Thank you, President Clark. Just a couple of questions. One more of a clarification, and I thought in Mr. Bell's discussion it had been clarified, but here at the end you were talking about certified and non-certified. Outside of LOTE and ASL, we're not looking to hire non-certified teachers, right?
No, sir, not at all. There are
And when
districts
it
that have
goes-
done that. We're not
And
doing
when
that.
it goes to private school, I, as an engineer who has a 4-year degree, could go teach calculus, physics. We're not looking to hire me as an engineer, right? We're not looking to hire non-certified teachers, right?
No, sir.
Okay, thank you. I wanted that clarification. Secondly, what is the approval process as far as we're gonna vote on amendment to this DOI plan? Does this go to TEA? Do they look at our recommendation? What's the approval process? Is it done once? Do we have the ability or the authority to once we vote, it's done, or is there another overview or oversight from TEA?
Once, if this board approves it with a supermajority, then we submit it, we're required to submit it to TE, I believe within the 6 days. And they post it, they accept it and they post it. We don't expect any issues or problems. There's been other districts that have submitted theirs without any issues, with much less stringent requirements than we are, but they are giving the authority of this board to make that as a local decision.
Okay, thank you. That's all I've got. Thank you.
Ms. Hawkins.
I just had I wanted a point of clarification. In our district, you were saying that, as an example, to teach journalism, you had to have a journalism degree. Is that correct?
No, ma'am. You have to have an English language arts degree at the high school, plus a specific number of hours in journalism in order to teach it. It's under the
Okay.
Texas Administrative Code.
And that's just that's just our policy.
No, ma'am, that's under Texas Administrative Code.
So, has that changed in the last several years or something?
I looked it up this week, and that was a required to teach journalism. That was one of the requirements. Is if you don't have a journalism certification and you do have, let's say, I'm an English teacher at the high school, then you must have the English teacher certification plus 6 hours I believe 6 hours in journalism.
Well, and the reason why I'm asking about the date on that is because when I left CCISD and I went to another school district, I taught journalism for 4 years, and I did not have a single hour of journalism, but I did have a master's degree. And so I'm just wondering if things changed, or what's the status on that?
And that was an example, but yes, that is currently the requirement under Texas Administrative Code as of this last week when I looked up the requirements because I had one teacher reach out to me that's a high school English teacher and said that she could not she wanted to teach a section of journalism but could not because she needed the additional hours. Would this allow her to at least request from her principal to do that? And I said, let me check. And she said the Texas Administrative Code does not let me. And I looked and it says plus 6 hours of journalism.
So is it possible that it could be like on an emergency permit, that it could be done?
That's an individual case, so I couldn't answer that question.
Okay. And you made a statement, I just want a clarification on it. Two things. We're just looking to fill CTE courses. No?
No, that was already
Lotte.
approved on the original plan. Languages other than English, and American Sign Language, if that were ever to come up. We have 2 American Sign Language teachers, and we know that it's very, very hard to find one. So that when this proposal came open, we said just in the event that happens, we'll be ready to serve those really at-needs kids who really can't be without an American Sign Language teacher. And so for that specific course, it's very specific.
So
went
where
ahead and added it,
are
'cause it's part of
we
Lotte.
offering ASL?
We
What-
offer
what
it
campuses?
At it's CAFE and Vets. And where? Miller has it too. Sorry,
And did Ray not have it at one point in time?
I don't know. We could find out for you.
I'm just, you say you're kind of looking toward the future, and I'm kind of asking, what is the demand, and what do you expect the demand to be?
Currently,
Because, I mean, it sounds like
currently the demand for languages other than English, whereas American Sign Language falls into, as kind of ties into. So in languages other than English, we have 4 current vacancies in Spanish that it's been difficult to even find applicants for, and 1 especially in Chinese French that's part of our IB program.
Okay, and I just need you to just explain to me what Chinese English is.
No, Chinese French.
Chinese
Yeah.
French is.
It is the course in learning, I believe, half the year Chinese and half the year French for an IB diploma.
Okay, so they take a semester of Chinese and
That's
a
my
semester.
understanding, but I'm not deep enough into that route, but that's my understanding. Chinese and French, that's what they need.
1 semester each.
It may be a full course each and the teachers split. I can't give you that deep of a detail because I didn't get that, but I could get it for you.
Okay. And lastly, I think you said you are not going to twist people's arms. Just their to take those. What? Has
Teacher
to be-
agreement.
Okay, and so that means that if you do have somebody that is actually qualified to teach one of those courses, and they are teaching another course, and they choose to stay in that course, you won't be moving them. Is that correct? Because in times past, but if they choose not to, that's what I'm asking.
If they're currently certified, a principal can reassign.
That's what I'm
Under
asking.
current certifications. The only place where a teacher agreement would be is that if the teacher is not certified in that course and is asked to teach that course or requests to teach that course, teacher must be in agreement if they are not certified, if it's a course outside of their certification.
So if they actually have 2 different certifications and you need them in one place or the other, I know that the district typically has the right to move a teacher to where it's going to be the greatest benefit
That's
of the
TA
district.
code for principals, right? Yes.
Okay, all right, thank you. That's what I had.
Mr. Arredondo.
A couple of things, Dr. Clement. Earlier, and I want to make sure I heard the numbers correctly, the vacancies that we had and the vacancies we have now was 170 and 193, was that correct?
172 vacancies we've had this year. We have resignations and retirements in addition for next year, 193.
And I guess as you look at this in the big picture, because it's a national trend, unfortunately. But when the aspect of all of this that I looked at this more carefully was those numbers, because of course what's not shared is, let's say, secondary, because that's the main area I would think all of this is relative to. And I know that elementary, there would be a need there possibly, for some assignment, reassignment, or certification issue. But when you look at the secondary aspect, both middle school and high school, of these, which were major content areas, English, science, et cetera. And it is a dilemma. We're not unique as a district, and probably the numbers are higher simply because we have more students. And I think this is an issue, obviously, that is along not only the coastal bend, but the state and, of course, nationally. But three things. Initially, I thought I was listening to the discussion, I was clear on a couple of things, but maybe I want to ask for points of clarification. Mr. Yarriel asked a question about certified versus non-certified. And this amendment strictly is talking about hiring certified teachers already to possibly teach in the areas that are in need. So we're not going after a degreed person that is not a certified teacher.
Only in Lotte and ASL, if that becomes an issue. No, we are looking for a certified teacher who not only wants to teach outside of their certification, but has the skills, the knowledge, and background to be able to do so.
No, let me ask the question again. Maybe I wasn't clear. We're not going to try to hire a degree person in whatever, non-education content area. And, well, I'll use engineering, and yes, he can teach math, science, and all of those things, but if that's not an area, I don't know if I'm making myself clear, are we going to go out and try to hire just non-certified, only degree teachers? And the answer to that is no, in response to the question that you gave.
Only certified.
Okay, so
They
we're
must
only
be
going
certified.
The amendment deals only with certified, then it's more specific when we look at the LOTE, correct?
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
All right, now, because ASL, you need to have those hours in order to be considered.
12 hours.
Okay. And again, and this point was made, and Mr. Bell kind of alluded to that, Mrs. Hawkins, and of course, Dr. Hernandez shared, because the document says in the first page, next to the last paragraph, teacher agreement must be secured prior to hiring or assigning a teacher to a course that is outside of their certification. Understanding what the law is and the prerogative and the legal aspect of a principal being able to assign, And again, we're talking about a teacher that's got certification in journalism, but is the history teacher that the principal would say, you're going to teach journalism next year. And that can happen whether the teacher agrees or not.
The teacher must be certified
Well,
in
no.
journalism in
Yeah,
order
so-
to be assigned.
That would be her, let's say it's.
If
her
they're
minor.
not, they have to agree.
Okay, and I guess that's the only point that, I'm sorry, not the only point, the last point was the issue of the mentor, and there's been discussion about that. We, this year, had what I would suspect, or not suspect, but understand was a great year with the mentor program that we had, okay? Many of those, the minimum required for those people to be mentors was 2 years of teaching
Yes, sir.
experience. In that cadre of people, you have certainly those that have multiple years of experience, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And I guess that would be my interest, that when we would assign a mentor, is that an option in this amendment that, one, we would go only with that mentor group?
That is our expectation. We have a current district mentor group, so that would be the mentor group we would use for any new hire. If in those vacancies, if we hired anybody new, we would still use that mentor group. So that is the mentor group we would use.
So does a teacher of, let's say, 8 or 12 years experience who is not on your mentor group, does a teacher with a 12 or 10 years experience who is not in the mentor group have the option to volunteer to be a mentor?
They would have the option to apply for our mentor group and get paid.
Yeah. Because, as I recall, and of course, I'm a little rusty on secondary scheduling, but, you have those singleton classes, and oftentimes the principals find themselves with that dilemma. It's not so much, I'm going to do this and that's it. It's, it is for the need. It is a course. That section there has a small amount of students. and it's only one period. Jaime is teaching science, but Jaime, can you help me in this one course and teach history? And as I look at that, you know, I guess that's the other issue is how we're going to communicate. I think that the marketing of this decision is going to be vitally important in 3 areas. Of course, obviously for the teachers, and it seems to me that it's for our secondary teachers for the most part, number one. Number two is letting our parents know this is an item that we've agreed to, and of course, yet we need to, whatever decision we make today, it's going to be vetted by TEA for us to get formal approval. That'll come, I feel confident. But at what aspect are we going to let the community know, here's what we're doing because we have a problem. We can't find people are leaving, people are making other choices. We want to get the best person in that classroom to teach your son or daughter, and this is an alternative and an option that we're looking at. And I think the networking, the publicizing, the communication to the community and parents is going to be critical in whatever and how this is decided today. But I really feel that we need to somehow develop a process, and I'm sure you already have that in the works as to how we're going to support our secondary teachers, most especially in the high schools, as to how this may come about, as to they may be asked to do something different or additional to that, because it's all preparations. You know, it's enough to prepare for one course, but now possibly maybe 2, and in some cases, maybe 3. So, you know, that's the thing that I want for us to be really careful in looking at, especially as how we identify a mentor or mentors that work with those teachers. Thank you very much,
Mr. Bell.
Yeah, I just have a couple of follow-up and some pretty quick. If I'm a principal at a high school and I advertise 2 weeks for a calculus teacher, right? Can't find a calculus teacher. But I've had some great candidates come through that are not certified. They're certified teachers, but they're not certified in calculus. I can hire them. Under this provision, I could hire them. I could call them back and say, I don't have a science gig for you, but you can come teach calculus if you want to really work for us. And I see that you had like 12 hours of calculus on your transcript, and we can get you on board, and then hopefully next year we can move you into science a year after that, whatever. But we could hire somebody, as long as they're fully certified, and we have a need, a principal can reach out and hire them if he feels like they're a good teaching candidate.
If the principal feels they have the education, the skills, and the background to be able to teach calculus, even though that's not what they're certified in, then it goes to the DOI District Committee, which is the Human Resources Officer, a current content specialist or coordinator in math for our district, and that principal to sit down again and rediscuss, how are we going to support this teacher? Is this the right person? Do we see we can build them into this role with their desire?
And the conversation they're going to have in their meeting is, we've advertised for this position. We cannot find this position. We have a chance to get somebody that's at least a certified teacher. They've been in the classroom, and hopefully we can get them up to snuff on teaching calculus. That's better than instead of having a full-time sub or something like that. So we can hire any certified teacher for any position that we really want. Okay,
Except bilingual and special education.
Except bilingual and special ed. Okay, and then the second thing that kind of bothered me on this is the very last paragraph. You know, parent notification of inappropriate certified or uncertified teacher under TEC section 21.057 will no longer be necessary. That's on the very last paragraph of your proposal. And what that says to me is that as a parent, I don't have to be notified. Heretofore, I had to be notified if I had somebody in there that was not a certified teacher. Am I understanding that?
Because
or certified in that area?
Because we are locally certifying them. That I included that because the state says we do not have to notify because we have made the local decision to certify them. Then we became the certification for them for that year. Okay. So it's no longer required.
I just feel that as a parent, if I have a student, I had some mom and dads tell me, I understand our shortage. Hey, my son has 3 subs. I get it. I understand it. I have conversations with folks all the time. And I understand that we have a need. I just think that we need to address it a different way. Thank you.
I do not see any further comments or discussion. Is there a motion for action item B?
I move that we move forward with the DOI.
Okay, we got a motion by Mrs. Bell. Is there a second?
Is this a supermajority or is this just
Supermajority.
Super.
Second from Mrs. Gonzalez. Let me get our voting machine in order. All right, we're going to clear that. All right, cast your votes. Okay, we've got 5 votes in the yay. That is a supermajority. Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we need to take a quick break. We have a individual that needed to be recognized for science that's here. Just Dr. Hernandez and I are going to go down. Ms. Libby asked everybody just kind of squeeze in behind back here.
Thank you. I appreciate this. I can only imagine what the parking was like. We had a large group tonight, plus our employees were still on duty, so it was a little hairy out there. But we would like to welcome forward at this time Michael Udo from Caffey Middle School. Come on down, sir. Yes. He knows his certificate is in Mr. Hartman's possession, who will get it to him, make sure he gets it to you. He earned 2nd place in biochemistry. Fortunately, we still have Dr. Cynthia Hopkins here. She's going to come forward as well. We're going to get a photo. Get you guys, we didn't want to interrupt too long, but we did want to ensure that he was honored this evening. And Dad, you can get a photo here in just a second. We'll do first the district photo, and then we'll get you yours. Hold on just a moment. Get you. All right, very good.
Nice shot.
Good job.
All right, congratulations. We'll get that certificate to you, sir. Thank you. Thank you, board members. Appreciate that.
Okay, moving on. We have action item C, Mr. DeBala presenting.
Good afternoon, President Clark, members of the board, Dr. Hernandez. Today I'm going to be requesting an approval of a change order for the Creekside Elementary School project for an increase in time and contract amount due to the city shutdown that we had. There required site changes to the surrounding development and the access roads and utilities for the site access. So the cost increase is just over $2.4 million, and the new substantial completion date is going to be June 1st, 2024.
So no discussion?
Don't see any questions. Wait, now we have one. Mrs. Trolley?
Can you just remind us what the original, what the original date was?
Original date was July of 2023, so it would have been July 1, 2023.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
I see nothing further. The vote machine is open. Need a motion.
Okay, and I'll second.
Got a motion from Mr. Arredondo, a second from Ms. Bell. Now your vote machine is open. All right, all the votes are in. We will tally. Thank you very much, Mr. DeBala.
Thank you.
Okay, that takes care of the bulk of the business. We will move on to trustee and superintendent remarks. Dr. Hernandez, would you like to lead us off?
Would love to. Just want to congratulate all of our graduates on an outstanding school year, an outstanding 4 years of high school, so many accomplishments, and so proud of them. And the graduation ceremonies themselves, the speeches were amazing. The kids were just wonderful. They're not kids, young adults, but very respectful. I just appreciate that. I want to thank our principals and our staff for coordinating the ceremonies. Dr. Wilson, thank you so much. It was very well run and great job.
Mr. Arredondo.
Just want to add gratitude to Ms. Martinez and Ms. Groby for helping us make sure that our robes and gowns look good. but it was really, I didn't get to be in the graduations a year ago, and I was really looking forward to this year. And of course, as a parent, was proud also to have been there at the Cal graduation, seeing my son kind of do his thing. And but can't echo enough what Dr. Hernandez has mentioned. It's been a great year. It's been a lot of work, lots of hard work. So many people to thank for the end as far as our students and making sure that they are the graduates now going out into the community to be leaders and to make decisions and hopefully come back and do so here in our communities. But really was a very inspiring thing. And I have to admit too, one of the choir songs, and I can't remember which one, literally brought tears to my eyes in reference to the memories that they were singing about and how the struggles of what they had done over the last 4 years and the things that they'd accomplished. But it was really very enlightening, very exciting, and just very happy to have been part of the graduation process. Thank you.
Mrs. Bell?
Ditto to everything what everybody said, but Ms. Trolley and I were having a conversation during the graduation ceremonies, and we noticed such a difference in our students walking the stage. This year, they were walking the stage with so much more confidence. They were looking us in the eyes, and to me, that's just another sign of healing with these kids after going what they've gone through with COVID, and we're moving forward, and I think that's very positive. And then I have to say, I was so honored to be able to give John J. Martinez his certificate. What determination he had on his face. It was such a beautiful sight, and even more beautiful was to watch that whole entire arena stand up. All of his, it just still gives me chills. So I wish the best to him and his family and his wonderful people who got him to that point to get across that stage.
Mrs. Trolley?
Well, there's not much that hasn't been said. We had a wonderful weekend together as the board celebrating all of our seniors. But I just wanted to add to that, and I'm glad Ms. Bell mentioned the confidence of our seniors. I think that was a really notable change this year. But also wanted to thank our administrators, counselors, everybody who works with the seniors. That was really evident this weekend too. It always is, but the relationship that first of all, each flavor, the high schools each have their own little flavor to them, and the culture, which is always so obvious and neat to see at the graduations. But it's also special to see the relationship that you principals, I see a couple of you here in the audience, have with your students, which is so special as well. And they love you. You hear them yelling your names out from the audience. So I know that comes with a lot of work and probably sleepless nights and effort. So you are appreciated. And thank you for those relationships that you build over those 4 years. And the counselors as well that are handing us those diplomas and hugging those students that you have those special bonds with. So thank you to all of the people who work with those seniors to get to that point.
Well, there's obviously an enormous group of people, but I do want to recognize Chief Warnke and his team. They just did an outstanding job. Officer Howard's in the back. I think I saw him for 72 hours over a 2-day period. But we certainly appreciate y'all. We know that there were a couple of responses that were needed for medical emergencies, and y'all were on the ball, and we thank you. We appreciate it. Mr. Bell.
Yeah, I'm just now getting my hand back from shaking almost 3,000 hands. Got a little get a stretch.
The Liberator button.
Yeah, it's like. Anyway, Dr. Wilson, you and your crew did an excellent job, and it's much appreciated. And to our employees, that it's a 12, 13-year journey for our kids to get where they got. And it takes that teacher in first grade to get them to where they're seniors in high school. It's going to be exciting as we go forward. This group of seniors had to endure an incredible 4 years in high school, just not normal. And like Ms. Bell said, that as we transition, we're going to hopefully get back to what is a normal a school year or experience and not have all these interrupters and whatnot. So kudos to all the administration team and our principals and their staff and the teachers and everybody that got these kiddos across the stage and out into the real world. I asked a young man that came up here and got a certificate today, I asked him what grade he was in. He goes, I'm a graduate. And I go, well, how's the real world treating you? He goes, pretty good, I got a job. I go, there you go.
Ms. Hawkins.
Thank you. I just want to kind of ditto everything that everybody has said, especially about our graduation, our students, the teachers, the staff, the staff that you have in the room with us is just we cannot just indispensable to come and help us with our robes and everything. But I also want to give kudos to Dr. Wilson. I don't know what you are telling these kids when they gather back in that room, but in I've been here, 7 years, and this is probably one of the most orderly graduations that I have been in. We had just a couple of them that wanted to get a little rambunctious, but for the most part, the kids were so well behaved. And so I just want to thank you, Dr. Wilson, your team, everybody that played into that, because they really were being responsible for being on that stage, and I was so happy to see that. Sometimes in the past, we have had some characters, but I think the way that you have orchestrated it and put people in places at strategic locations, I think that helped a lot. So thank you for that, and I want to just give kudos to all of our teachers out there. They have done a tremendous job over the past 4 or 5 years, especially with COVID and then coming out of COVID. And so I'm just really proud to be part of this CCISD team in the hearts of the students, in the hearts of the city. Thank you.
Mr. Arredondo.
Just a point of a personal note. I want to thank our president, Don Clark, because as we tandem in giving the diplomas, I never fumbled a diploma with my left hand. So he did a good job. And Dr. Wilson also for my, what I call trustee director's stool. It really worked out, and it's a team effort. I endear this group up here, that surrounds me, and just really appreciate them and the notions, and especially when Don said, "Get up there and let me get a picture with you and your son," and that was really special, and I wanted to make sure to publicly thank you all for that, and great day. You betcha. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Bell.
Okay, we still have one more graduation this coming Thursday for Cole. Well, then summer graduation, but we have one this week for Cole, so we will be there. And that'll be number 9, and then number 10 in August. So, and by the way, the reason why there was no rambunctiousness on the stage, I have to give Kim and Karen, the gatekeepers there.
Don't forget,
and
Mr. Hall at the end.
They did not have room to do flips this year.
Okay, well, thank you all for hanging out with us this afternoon. This concludes the June 5th, 2023 Corpus Christi Independent School District Board of Trustees meeting. We are adjourned at 6:36.